So that'll be fun to see, man. I hope we can all make some money together and celebrate a nice win come UFC Charlotte next week.
Hell yeah. And Liam, thanks for coming on, bro. How you feeling about the card?
Absolutely, man. My neck of the woods. I've always said, especially these last couple weeks, because Patchy Mix just confirmed it over in Bellator as well, but the road to bantamweight greatness runs through the great state of New York right now, whether that's Aljamain Sterling, Merab Dvalishvili, Patchy Mix. We got a lot of representatives. So, does it feel good saying the New York boy's going to teach you how to wrestle when you got an Olympic gold medalist on the other side? No, it certainly does not. So it's a fantastic fight card. It's a fantastic fight, and I'm fired up to talk about it with you, gentlemen. So cheers to that. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. All right, let's hop right into it then. We've got a dope fight to start off the card. We have Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz Jr. Santos 10-2-0. He's 28, 5'7" at the 67-inch reach. We got shoot box for him. Munoz Jr., he's 12-2-0, 30 years old. He's going to be 2 years older, 2 inches taller, and have a 4-inch reach advantage. Mushroom, why don't you start us off?
All right, you got it. I'm going to start off on the Daniel Santos side. My opinion, the guy's pretty well rounded. He's got power in his hands. He'll stay in your face. He's got pressure. He's got a good jab. He explodes when he's in the pocket as well. He's got good knees. Got good leg kicks in the body. By the way, you'll notice a theme. I just really love people that do body work, by the way. Really. I mean, I just love that. So, and this guy's a BJJ black belt as well. I think he's training with Oliveira. And he's got good sprawls. His get-up game. Kid's durable. Obviously some red flags. Dude's hittable. Just like Oliveira, he's hittable. He gets knocked down, but he recovers well. He played off his back, and he does that old school BJJ. So they're just some of the red flags I see on his side. Now, if I'm going to go to the other side of this fight, Johnny Munoz, he's an MMA style fighter, I guess. And he's a decent striker, okay jab, a decent 1-2. He's got the front and side kick, stuff like that. I think he can get some. He throws bombs when he wants to get to his takedowns. I think it's like 2 a fight. He's got an okay top control. Decent jiu-jitsu. I think he's a BJJ black belt. But as you can see, a lot of the words I'm using are okay and decent. So I think you can see where I'm going on my side of the fight. But look, this guy's not the best wrestler. He doesn't appear to be the best nail either. He's not great on the feet. I'm not super impressed with this guy at all. And in my opinion, he can slow down late trying to get his takedowns, which he only gets at like a 25% clip or whatever. I'm going to go with Santos inside the distance as my pick for this fight.
All right. Before I pass the mic to Patrick, you got a question over here, Mushroom?
Oh, what's the question? Oh, I'm in Philly for work, right? Now what should I eat tomorrow? Wow. I'll tell you what. There's a place. It's at Roosevelt and Common Avenue. It's called Assad's Hot Chicken. They make this chicken. I mean, they got these giant chicken breasts. You can get it as hot as you want. If you like it really hot, like I like that stuff, it'll meet your needs. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's street food, cart food, so I'm not going to send you to a restaurant or anything like that. If you want restaurants, I can name those as well. But if you want something that's pretty authentic for Philly, I would say check out Assad's Hot Chicken.
There you have it, Assad's Hot Chicken. Love it. Patrick, what are you thinking about this fight, brother?
Man, now I got hot chicken on the brain. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. But I do have 2 units on Daniel Santos. So I agree with Mushroom so far, man. I think that he pretty much nailed it. Johnny Munoz Jr., very good grappler, but his durability is certainly in question after he was dropped by that like 2-inch punch from Tony Gravely a couple of fights ago. Even the commentary team didn't even know it hit him. So a guy like Daniel Santos that's going to plod forward with that aggressive shoot-to-box style. I just think that, Mushroom, again, you're right. He's hittable. That is a worry here, but I do have 2 units on Santos at -155. I think he's going to just plow through, not give Munoz room. And a guy in Munoz who's, comfortable enough at striking, but you can still see he's a grappler at heart. He's really not going to like that pressure that John Castaneda felt against Santos in his last fight. I lost a lot of money betting on Castaneda because I really did underlook the skill set of Santos. So I'm looking for my money back here. I think Santos gets the job done inside the distance most likely. And I do like the unders too. The under 2.5 is pretty cheap, I believe. We're looking at minus 145 for the under 2.5. So better than the money line of Santos for sure. You could cover both sides.
Nice.
Yeah, that under opened at plus money too, and I was looking at it, and then I chickened out and didn't play it. I wish I did though.
But
Liam, what are you thinking, brother?
Yeah, the one thing I'll just mention is when I'm looking at a fight, if I'm going to bet the under, I like to have both guys have a decent chance of finishing. And the one thing I struggle to see here is a Johnny Munoz finish condition on the feet. You know, I think he could definitely submit him. I think he's got excellent jiu-jitsu. You know, I think potentially even underrated jiu-jitsu coming into this matchup. But again, Santos is very good on the ground. He's a good scrambler as well. Pretty hard to hold on to. So as far as I'm concerned, it's probably going to be a fight that takes place on the feet more often than not. And when you got two smaller guys on the feet, and I think one of them's got a chance to win by knockout, but the other one maybe doesn't, I'm actually almost looking towards that Santos decision at plus 375. I think that's a little bit wide, given the nature of the weight class and given the nature of Munoz to fight to decision so often. You know, he submitted Jamie Simmons. What did we really learn from that? Not a ton. And otherwise, he's basically gone to decision with tough fighters, Nate Maness, Ludovic Shalinian. Those are pretty quality guys. So I think that this could be a fight where he gets out volume, maybe outworked down the stretch, especially if it stays upright. But I think that there's a potential for it to go the distance. So that would be my contrarian narrative. But I do think that Santos is the side here more often than not. Just a little bit more offense. I think, despite the fact they have the same record, I feel like he's a fresher fighter in my mind. Just looks a little more dynamic, a little more offensive, kind of guy the UFC likes to get behind.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to make it 4 for 4 for the first fight. I'm on Santos too. Played the same line as Pat, minus 155 for just to win back 1 unit. It was a fight that I really looked at for a while. My initial gut reaction when I saw the line was actually Johnny Munoz. I was thinking maybe there might be some value there. I do think he's pretty good on the ground. I really like his work there. He's got good top pressure, wrestling decent, but after taping, I had to go with my guy Santos. The dude is relentless. He's got the output. He's got the pressure. Yeah, he'll take shots. And Munoz at range, I actually kind of like the 1-2. It's like straight down the pipe. I really like straight punches. But then you watch it a little bit, and he starts to really leave these openings. And I think that's where Gravely got him. And I think that's where Santos is going to get him. I just don't think it's going to be a one-shot knockout. I think it's going to be just a buildup of damage. Santos just pushing him up against the fence, bringing in that pressure, bringing in that output, mixing it up. He goes to the body, which I really like. And as long as he's not getting stuck on the ground, which I don't think is going to happen, we've seen him fight even better wrestlers back in the Russian regional scene. Kalimov is the one that everybody's been seeing. And of course, he got out-grappled there, but he did show really good stand-ups, and he showed a good ability to scramble, and he did show good takedown defense. So I think it's going to be hard for Munoz here. I think it's a difficult fight. And unless, anything can happen, and Santos does fight like an idiot a little bit, he could get clipped. It could happen. So I wouldn't go too nuts, but I like him to win this fight. And we can move on to our next one. Here we've got Joseph Holmes versus Claudio Ribeiro. Holmes 8-3-0. He's 27, 8'4" with an 80-inch reach. On the other side, you got Ribeiro. He's 10-3-0. He's going to be 3 years older, 3 inches shorter, but only a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Patrick, start us off.
Yeah, this is a stay away fight for me for sure. I think both guys are, I think Joseph Holmes is the more technically sound fighter, but he's not going to have that aggression, the risk taking, the physicality of Ribeiro. I think he's going to be a little bit slower on the feet. And he doesn't have like that equalizing power either. I've seen Joseph Holmes. Who did he knock out? Was that Jonathan Petit, or who was that he knocked out? It was
Petit.
Yeah, it was like a nice straight punch, but I don't know, man. I just feel like he's got to grind this fight against the cage. Maybe look for a takedown to stall time. But he's a guy who I feel like he's gotten along in his career so far because Joseph Holmes has got the 6'4" frame, the 80-inch reach, the measurables at this weight class. Even when he matched somebody with those same stats in Jamie Pickett, he lost the fight. So I think that just shows that he's really just about the physical advantages here, not too much about the aggression. Ribeiro is so limited with his technique, and he leaves a lot of openings as well. We saw it in the last fight. You could just kind of chop at his leg, push him against the cage, get him into round 2, and then, knock him out. But Holmes doesn't have that power that Razak El-Hassan has. So, it's Joseph Holmes late in a boring fight, or it's Ribeiro early by a vicious knockout. That's the way I'm leading, but I don't like the price tag on him. So it's a pass for me.
All right. How about you, Liam?
Yeah, I'm not compelled to bet either one of these guys. I think that Ribeiro is more fun. I think that Joseph Holmes has a great mustache. But truthfully, I just don't feel like either one of these guys are worth substantial investments. I bet Jamie Pickett against Joseph Holmes. So that'll give you an impression of where I kind of rated his skills. It just seems so green to me coming into the UFC. Kind of snuck in with some nice wins. And, he gets the finishes. He's got some physical attributes, right? He's got length. He can hurt somebody enough that he could grab a hold of him with his chokes and stuff. But is he the world's greatest black belt? Is he the world? No, he's kind of just a work in progress everywhere. When I see an association with War Training Center and you're the underdog, that's something that at least piques my eye. I think they get people ready to compete. Their mental performance, I think, is very underrated. But outside of that, I don't have much to offer on this fight. I feel like it's a worthy pass. Minus 175. It's kind of a sketchy line anyway. It's like, come on, play it. And I just think that Joseph Holmes probably better on the ground here, but I don't really trust him in the striking exchanges.
Yeah, I'm on the pass with you guys. There's no way. I also faded Holmes with Pickett. I believe I tried fading Ribeiro on the Contender Series. That clearly didn't go great for me. The guy decided to not set up his spinning back fist or whatever and just got knocked out clean. It was nasty. But you watch both guys and you don't want to put your money on them. I know a lot of people did bet Holmes. I get there's some wrestling upside, but his wrestling kind of sucks. In my opinion, I think it sucks. He's not a good wrestler. He's taking down guys who aren't very good. Yeah, you can point to the Ribeiro fight where he went almost 5 rounds, got the late knockout. Juan Aresti is 40 years old. He's 21, 20-0, something like that. And the guy took him down, controlled him against the fence. I mean, I don't even know what the scorecards were, but could have gone the other way if he didn't get the finish. So I did not like that. So that's why I was maybe thinking Holmes. Then I was thinking maybe Holmes sub, but again, he's just not good at it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the most likely outcome, honestly, is Ribeiro's going to knock him out cold because the way he stands and just the head up high, not good striking defense, really hittable in my opinion. And Ribeiro's got crazy power. He's going to be winging those strikes either till he's dead or the other guy's dead. So I think it's going to be Ribeiro here. I'm not going to touch it. The fight doesn't go is probably a decent play, but you're going to be really pissed and probably break your television if you're in round 3 and these guys are just cage pushing because it's happened to both. So I wouldn't touch this. How about you, Mushroom?
Well, again, I'm in agreement with a lot of the things you guys are saying, especially just looking at my notes. And a lot of the notes start with, for Joseph Holmes, I see the words, okay. And then I see the can be low volume in it as well. And then he's a guy who kind of has reach but doesn't use it well. He's not the best wrestler. And I think his cardio is kind of poor, as a matter of fact. I think he's 7.5 minutes of cardio. And I think it starts to drop off after that. Never been impressed with him. The loss to Pickett just doesn't sit well with me at all. Yeah, I mean, even on the other side, you guys were saying pass. I mean, I'm going to be degenerate. I'm going to make some sort of bet on this. Just take a stab at it. My pick for the fight will just be Ribeiro KO. You know what I'm saying? Just see what that pays. Just take a shot at something like that. Because he does have power. He has power in both hands. He's got that Muay Thai, but he come forward. And like you said, he throws those looping shots, but they got power in him. He's big, he's long, he's got good kicks, and he has a variety of kicks. Like I said, just a little stab. I'll probably put it as a piece of a parlay or something like that, a D10 parlay. But I like Ribeiro by knockout in this one. But not super impressed with either one of these guys. Not putting a bunch on them. Like I said, maybe sprinkle them in a parlay. I wouldn't put any regular money on them like that. No single bet on this.
Yeah, I'll be there live, so I have to have a lottery ticket bet with every single fight. And Ribeiro will be on the lottery ticket play, but that's it. That's it. Just because it has to be every fight. It's a rule. If you go live, it's a rule. You know this.
Yes.
But all right, we can move on to the next fight, and I think we have a lot to talk about. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, Paddy Pimblay coming in against Rafael Estevan. Zhalgas, he's 14-8-0, 34, 5'4" with a 67-inch reach, and he does have 7 wives. Estevan, 11-0, undefeated as a pro. Going to be 8 years younger, 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. Liam, start us off. I think Liam's telling me to move on. Okay. You're muted, buddy, so I didn't hear you, but
I was saying go back to me because my screen was frozen on my end, but alas, it's back now, so I can talk now. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, ZZ Top. I don't know that anybody's ever cost me more money as an underdog betting on them. I thought that he's won a lot of these fights along the way, but I could tell you guys, one of my strongest gut level reads coming into this week was Rafael Estevan. And the reason being was because Zhalgas Zhumagulov retired after his last fight. He said, I'm sick of these judges. I keep getting screwed. It's never been a fair shake. God bless everybody. I'll see you next time. I'm riding off into the sunset. I'm done. And now he comes back. He does not look like the same guy, which shout out. He looks dope. But just, gut level, I hated that for him, just from a motivation standpoint. He's an older guy, right? He's fought a lot of tough guys. He's fought a lot of tough fights and just never gotten any credit, respect, money, or anything he deserved from it. It's just is that the guy that I want to bet on from a motivation standpoint? Truthfully, no. Whereas Estevan's full of piss and vinegar, comes off of the regional scene with a bunch of finishes, bunch of late finishes too, second round, third round, stays on people, gets on top, hurts people on the feet, wears them down, takes them down, finishes them on the ground. Sometimes with ground and pound, vicious from on top. We saw that on Contender Series, made a donation on the sub prop there. But I feel like this guy pushes a pretty hard pace. I feel like he's a pretty dangerous guy. He's going to be one of the debutantes on this card that I actually think, why is the UFC taking him from Contender Series to a pay-per-view offering? Maybe to familiarize him with UFC fans, maybe to get them on the radar. That's something that's interesting to me. Only two guys, I think Aliskarov's the other one, were from the Contender Series and then placed on the pay-per-view card in advance. But in that case, I think maybe they're dealing Aliskarov from the bottom of the deck. I think both guys have a narrative in that one. This one, it just feels to me like Zhalgas Zhumagulov should be very capable of competing very well in this fight. But he's done that in all of his fights, and he doesn't get the nod. And he doesn't get the win, and they don't credit the style and the work that he does. Charles Johnson can't win a fight in the UFC, not for love nor money, yet he can win one against Zhalgas. It's just at a certain point, I just am concerned that Zhalgas is not going to win fights in the UFC. The fact they're offering him another one, it's the only thing to push back against that. Maybe they're like, bro, sorry, we keep doing you wrong. We'll give you one more chance. But overall, I just think Estevan, a little younger, a little fresher, especially in a weight class like this, things he can't overlook. I think Zhalgas' only official win is Jerome Rivera in the organization. I mean, Jesus Christ. Scraping the bottom of the barrel at plus 157. A little bit.
Yeah, with the Jerome Rivera fight, the thing there is, too, he was getting outstruck by Jerome Rivera. He was 100% getting outstruck.
Yeah, he got the meme gilly. Meme gilly.
So that was a terrible look. I mean, overall, I think he's a little underrated. At this point, I don't know. The whole retirement thing came in looking like that. I don't know what's happening in his life. Doesn't seem like he's handling all this well. When he came in against Paiva, that was my second card ever betting. I went heavy on him. He was an underdog. Felt super confident. Still think to this day he won that damn fight. But that's been the story of his career after that. I mean, Amir Albazi deserved that win. That wasn't a robbery or even close. Albazi's a beast, a great grappler, and a fight to look at when you're breaking down this one, because Estevan is going to be grappling here. And what you saw in that fight and what you see with him even on the regionals, Zhalgas, as the fight progresses, he's much easier to hold down. As he tires out, he's much easier to hold down. He does have pretty good takedown defense. He was a champion on the Russian scene, even if he got 2 robberies back-to-back. And as the fight extends, you kind of see that go. And his striking also, it's kind of loopy. He might have better output here. And honestly, he might even have success on the feet because I think Estevan's a little bit green there still. And he's very hittable, hands down. The problem is he's not going to keep it on the feet for long. Estevan's going to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. I'd kind of compare him to Merab in that way, where he's just going to keep going for the takedowns till he gets them. I slept on the line. It was minus 155 at one point, and I kind of talked myself out of it, and maybe even considered Zhalgas, and then went back to Estevan. It was a little too late, but I did play a prop today that I ended up liking quite a bit. I played Estevan round 3 or decision. It was plus 120. I played a unit on it. I think it's really live. I don't think he's going to finish Zhalgas early. I think it's going to take time, but I think a round 3 finish is very live, and if not, I'll take the decision as well. So that's my play. What do you think of Mushroom?
Yeah, I'm on the same side as well. When I look at my notes for Estevan, I mean, The word good is in there a lot. I'll go over some things. Let's first of all start the guys, no losses. I know he's making his UFC debut, but I mean, he's got a little bit of power in his hands, and he's good at range. And listen, if he can't get you down against the cage, he also does trips and drags, and he gets you down there. He's a good grappler. That ground and pound, and his elbows with his ground and pound, vicious. And he's also looking for subs. This guy's trying to finish it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always happen, but I like his fight. I do think it's decent, not great, but it's decent. And like you said with Zhalgas, it's just, I don't know. The fucking judges don't like him. Maybe it's his style. It's whatever it is. I mean, you would think this guy, I don't know. He has so much UFC experience. He's fought probably the better brand of competition. But I think he's still even kind of small. The talk of retirement is crazy. And the judges just simply do not like this guy for whatever reason. I'm not going to lose money on Zhalgas again. I'll tell you that much. In fact, I love Mike's play there because that's one of the plays that I always love, and that's Estevan third round / decision, something attritional, to maybe take a Zhalgas out of there. So I do like that play.
All right, 3 for 3. Pat, are you gonna make it 4 for 4?
No, I'm not. I'm not actually. Mike, I think you're totally right. And this is not a confident pick, and I think you should stay off of Zhalgas for sure. This guy cannot win a fight in the UFC. But this is a good spot. His striking, I think, is going to be the difference maker in this fight, most likely. And this is a pretty even fight. You've got all the experience, high-level experience for Zhalgas. He's a bit undersized for the weight class always, but he makes fights so close because if you look at his striking metrics even, if you land 40 strikes on him, he's landing 38. Like he's always right there. He can stick and move well, but he stays in the pocket too long, just enough to get hit back and return before he exits. So like you said, Mike, his punches are a little bit loopy, and that leads to some of that countering ability against him. So look, the guy he's generally, good at like getting back up off the ground or avoiding the takedown early in the fight, but then he fades late, and that probably does lend to him getting screwed out of these split decisions because the last thing the judges see are him fading late as the fight goes on. So my only play on this fight is I'll just have like a D-Gen round robin with fight goes to split at plus 450 in here. But I think Zhalgas could get his hand raised in this spot. I just really see that the striking and the speed, the fluidity of the movement on the feet, I think that all goes to the favor of Zhalgas here. So as long as he can spend the first round or two doing a little bit more than this newcomer, I think he could win the fight, but probably will fade late. It's mostly a product of the money line too, right? Like if he was a favorite, no way. But he's plus 160. I think that would be the side for me. Dog or pass, I'm passing on it.
All right, we can move on to our next one. We got Ikram Aliskarov versus Phil Hawes. Aliskarov, he's 13-1-0, 30 years old, 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. On the other side, you got Hawes. He's 12-4-0. He's going to be 4 years older, same height, going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. And I'll start us off here. So, look, I usually almost always back Phil Hawes. I think I've backed him in pretty much every fight since he's come back to the UFC. Not come back, since he's made it in through the Contender Series. It took him 3 attempts. But I had to go with Aliskarov here. I have a little bit of a concern on the feet because I do think Phil Hawes is a really good striker. He showed that in the Curtis fight. I mean, he was beating him up on the feet until he got countered. And that's kind of the story with him. He's winning fights till he's not. But I do think he's going to have a strong edge on the feet here. I do. But I also think Aliskarov is going to get him down. I know Phil Hawes has that 100% takedown defense, but that's from one fight. Dawkins went 0 for 7, which... good job. Dawkins is decent, but he's also on the regionals now. I think Aliskarov is a completely different level. And while his accuracy with takedowns, it might take him a few attempts. Once he's on top of you, Aliskarov, he's super dangerous. Hawes, he is, I think, not a black belt, but I know he does train jiu-jitsu a lot. I know he competes. And I do know he's a D1 wrestler. That I know for sure. So maybe he can keep it on the feet. I can't blame people for taking him as a dog, but the chin, to me, is an issue. He fades. The cardio is a problem. And I think Aliskarov can definitely wear him out. And I just think Aliskarov with the grappling edge. And he's a decent striker too. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's as good as Hawes. But give me Aliskarov here. I had him parlayed with Evloev just like everybody else. And of course, Evloev now is fighting Diego Lopez. So I've got 2 units straight on Aliskarov. Not the end of the world. I'll take it. So Mushroom, what you thinking here?
Yeah. On the Phil Hawes side, I think he's got some power in his hands. He's explosive. He's got athleticism, I'd imagine. He's got some decent leg kicks. I guess he's like Division One. I think he was a champion, a national wrestling champion. That 100% takedown defense, like you said, it's from one fight. A lot of red flags. You mentioned most of them. He's chinning. His power fades late. He fades late. What is this guy going to look like if somebody actually does take him down? What's he going to look like off his back? And Dolidze just tore this fucking guy's leg up, 7 months ago? A lot of red flags on that side. I like a lot, and I think the UFC is probably pushing this other kid too. The other kid's a combo with a combat sambo champion or something. He's good.
Yeah.
He's got some pressure, long kicks, and he's a Russian wrestler. Chain wrestles, and he won't, like you said, he's not going to get them all, but he's going to keep them coming. He's going to eventually get it. And I think he's just going to tire out Phil Hawes. I actually am playing another third round / decision play on Aliskarov. So, yeah, that's my play for that fight there.
I like that. How about you, Pat?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that play for Mushroom, the round 3 or decision for Aliskarov. I'm not in love with the money line, though. Like the money line was -210 for Aliskarov. Not crazy about that. I think the side for that will be Phil Hawes, just owing to his. He's a junior college, I think, wrestling champion, and I would love to see how his American style, matches up with like the Russian style of Aliskarov. But I think it's going to be like just more of the cardio from the chain wrestling attempts from Aliskarov that's going to wear on that cardio of Phil Hawes here. So Phil Hawes is the nuclear option. He can be very explosive with his striking round 1. The fact of the matter is the guy's pretty chinny, but I don't think Aliskarov is really that much of a problem or a threat on the feet. So I think it's going to be like a cardio, like a war of attrition. Aliskarov, challenging and re-challenging those takedown attempts, wearing him out in the cage. And eventually I think he will get Phil Hawes to the mat as this fight goes on, round 2, round 3. And he could wrap up a submission on Hawes in the later parts of the fight or just grind out that control time based decision. So that's how I'd see this going. Another pass for me on this one, but I would lean Aliskarov.
All right, before I give it to Liam, this guy always has my favorite comments. I'm Heisenberg's son. I know this already. I don't know who do you guys think is Kai's son? Liam?
I don't know, bro.
I don't know who Debo is, and then he's confused himself
Debo
for one of you.
Friday? That's gotta be Mushroom. Mushroom's gotta be Debo.
So I'm gonna guess Kai's son then is Liam, and then Pat, you're the confused emoji.
Yeah, it's me.
But all right, Liam, what do you think for this fight?
Yeah, so coming into this week, I would say I largely echoed Mushroom's thoughts, which was just like this felt to me like they were cashing out Phil Hawes. Really quick turnaround. I felt like Dolidze, that was a brutal fight. Kind of the worst of all worlds. You get your leg torn apart. You're like, all right, let me stand up. And then you get blasted to the shadow realm. It's like, geez Louise, like guy can't catch a break. Like that's the truth about Phil Hawes a little bit. But when I look at Aliskarov and I tried to just go back and give an objective look, he was really good, right? And I thought coming into Contender Series, I was like, man, this is just the easiest fight in the world. He's going to take Mario Souza down one time and the fight will be over shortly thereafter. Because did you guys watch what Chidi Nchukwi did to Anthony Souza? He literally dominated him on the mat like it was no big. And I know he's a black belt, but guys, it was just like, I was like, this guy Aliskarov will do anything he wants. And I bet the sub prop there and it was free. But it's not going to be free against Phil Hawes. And that's the thing that makes this a lot more tricky because I think that if this is an extended fight, Phil Hawes kind of falls apart over time. Like he just does. Like the longer he's out there, the more dangerous it is. But when I see a plus 750 on Phil Hawes by knockout in the first round, I'm like, really? Because with all due respect, Khamzat Chimaev went, with Gilbert Burns, who we'll talk about later, like his chin isn't made of freaking titanium. Like he's a man after all. It's just like that guy was going punch for punch with Chimaev, and Aliskarov got sent to the outer rings of hell by Chimaev. Like one of the worst knockouts you'll see. It's a great knockout, but it's also a terrible one to be on the receiving end of. Like face all shriveled up, looking off in all directions. Like bad, really scary for future reference because when it happens once, you're just a little more nervous it can happen again. Phil Hawes has done that to guys like Malkoun. Hasn't happened since. Like he's just lights off like 20 seconds into the fight. So when you give that kind of power to somebody who's going to come out there and probably have the sprawling, potential to keep this upright for the first 5, that's a really dangerous guy to be up there for 5 minutes. Ask Jourdain Win, right, who likes to try and break guys down and get a couple takes. He was literally being beat within an inch of his life like it was a crime. Like it was an assault by Phil Hawes. So, like, if you are on the feet stuck there with Phil Hawes, he's just a freak athlete too. I don't know. I just think at first I was like, man, they're just cashing out Phil. But then I'm like, wait, he's a New Jersey wrestler who's like in his backyard, probably asked to be on the card, right? He's training in South Florida now, maybe a homecoming, get out of the comforts of Florida and whatever. I don't know. I just have a feeling like Phil Hawes, this is a make or break fight. I mean, what is he not getting fired if he loses this fight? Of course, he's probably going to get fired. Like they're like, yeah, your play's for him. So Aliskarov can easily be rebuilt. You take a loss here, hey, UFC jitters, it happens to everybody. Jacob Malkoun, he's made a fine career of humping people's leg down at this way. We can do that, right? We can get back there, but I just feel like this is a tough first assignment, and Phil Hawes has had a lot of tough assignments in the UFC. This is another one for sure, but the path to beating Phil Hawes is normally not take him down and dominate him on the ground. Even Dolidze was underneath, hit a really crazy rolling knee bar. He didn't tap. It's like the guy's tough. He's not there to quit either. He's there to fight. So unless you put him out, he's a hard guy to beat. I don't expect him to get put out by Aliskarov.
All right, fair enough. Before we move on, we can address this. I'm only learning now about handles and all this stuff. Finally started seeing it. I'll pass the mic to you guys if you know anything about it. But as I understand it, percentage of bets is exactly what it means. It's the percentage of the actual amount of bets, right? And then the handle just means the actual money that's on it. So this fight is actually a decent example, right? So Aliskarov, 70% of bets are on him, but 78% of the money is on Phil Hawes. So I guess what that tells you is that the people with more money are on Phil Hawes, and the rest, the public, is on the other side. So that's how I understand it. Liam, you might know better. Pat, Mushroom, I don't know. Go ahead, but that's what I think.
I'm a nerd for the market stuff. You did hit the nail on the head. Bet percentage is the same as tickets. That's basically a percentage of the tickets. What I would just tell everybody is approach it all with some degree of skepticism. They're not your friends. They don't want you to win, right? The sports books. But there are things like the VSIN relationship with DraftKings where they supposedly updated in real time. Those are things that could be one data point that you consider along the way. I think MGM is full of shit. I don't believe anything that they say about their splits on any sport. So again, it's like I could be right or wrong about that, but I pay attention to this stuff week in and week out, and I pay attention to a lot of indicators, how people vote on Tapology, how many people betted on BetMMA.tips. I pay attention to a lot of these numbers, and if it doesn't reflect in all those pools and it's just an outlier every time from MGM, I'm going to say it's full of shit, and I think it's full of shit. So that's my advice to you. I think the DK one is as close as you can get to a real betting split. I think BetMMA.tips might even have more valuable information. So take all that for what it's worth. But just knowing how many people are betting something, it's one important thing to consider. It ain't everything. And sharp people are betting a lot of money sometimes, but also some people are waiting for the limits to get big late in the fight week, right? So they're not even betting yet. So that's something else to consider is the later the numbers, the more impactful and meaningful they are, because that's going to impact what they actually need as a decision. And if somebody's a big favorite, they'll be included in parlays. They don't talk about that. They're talking about straight bet liability normally in those things. So the ticket count could express the parlays, right? But it won't express how much they stand to lose if all those parlays cash. So that's the last thing I'll say. It's just a conceptual matter to take into account. It's not as simple as just, oh, there's more on this one than that. It's a process for them to win the event. So they need to win the event by the end of the day. They don't need to win every fight.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say is exactly what you said. CT mentioned it. Like, it doesn't mean everything. Last week, Josh Quinlan, all of the money was on him. And look what happened there. And I think I actually did let that sway me. What's up?
The parlay buster, my friend.
Yep.
You need one every week. I'm telling you that.
I was one of those, and my original read was Waters, and I went away from it because I just started learning about this stuff. I saw that money on Quinlan, rewatched the tape, and I was like, all right, maybe I'm missing something. So learn a hard lesson there. Like Liam said, just one data point. Gotta look at everything. We can move on, though, to dude, I can't believe I'm going to be live for this fight. We've got Parker Porter versus Braxton Smith. Porter, 13-8-0. He's 38 years old, 6 feet tall with a 75-inch reach. He's the reason John Jones was gone for so long. Braxton Smith, 5-1-0. He's 5 years younger, 1 inch shorter, don't have his reach. And Mushroom, why don't you start us off?
Okay. I guess we'll start off with the Braxton Smith side. He's making his UFC debut. The guy's an okay kickboxer. He's got that one-touch KO power in his hands, and I think it's in both hands. Explosive. He comes forward. He wings bombs. I think he had that one head kick knockout. 5 first-round KOs. And I think he did that all within 2022 or within a year. And these are fucking shadow realm KOs. These aren't your fucking, you get knocked out. Oh, we don't know what happened. No, these fucking dudes are fucking sleeping. 2.5-inch reach advantage. And he hasn't been finished, I think, since 2014, like January 2014. Now, obviously, a lot of red flags. I think he was out of the game for a while. Like, there's a lot of inactivity on his side. He's not real technical, low volume. I guess because he's got that power, he likes to do that one punch at a time thing. But who knows what if this gets extended somehow? What if somehow, Parker Porter survives the early onslaught? I mean, who knows? And what's his ground game really like? It's kind of suspect, in my opinion. Let's go on the Parker Porter side. I guess he's kind of more well-rounded. He's again, okay striker. He has decent leg kicks. He can put on pace and volume, footwork. I guess he's a decent wrestler. Again, you see where I'm starting. And decent BJJ. I think he's a brown belt of some sort. He's got good cardio, more UFC experience. Fought better competition. But, man, he's fucking hittable, pillow-fisted. And, KO'd by Tafa not too long ago. His last 2 losses are by finish, and 7 of his 8 losses are by finish. I think he loses his fight, and I think it makes it 8 of the 9 losses will be by finish. So I'm going to go with, what's his name? Jesus. Braxton Smith. Probably KO, I guess. That's his method. So KO. I think he finds Parker's chin.
Let's see if he can do it faster than Jones did. Jones did it in 36 seconds. Pat, how about you, brother? What do you think?
My guy Zach Johnson in the chat. What's going on, Zach? How you doing, brother? This is the people's main event. Man, this is a fight that you probably should not be betting on. I did see. I think your guy Propaholic. I think he put out something about maybe like a minus. I don't even remember what it was. It was
he did fight Ensign KO, I think.
Yeah, was that minus 150 to minus 190, something in that price range? I want to say
he wouldn't play minus 190. It was probably like 50-ish.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's probably the only bet to make in this one. Like honestly, or Braxton round to 1 KO. That'll be in a D-Gen round robin for sure, because that's basically the guy's money line. Although I don't know if he will gas out. Like if Parker Porter forces the issue, then sure, if he grapples with him. But Braxton Smith does so little activity that like he could probably do that for 3 rounds if he just stands there and throws a 1-1-2 every now and then. And this guy, as a fellow meathead, I want this guy to win very badly. This is potentially my new favorite fighter as a mini Bob Sapp, basically. If you remember Bob Sapp, just a big jacked refrigerator of a human being. I will tell you guys, I searched everywhere, high and low, for that footage of Chase Sherman and Braxton Smith. I could not find it. I went through extreme levels of stalking to try to figure it out. And I saw Chase Sherman's cousin had posted something about like how he won by round 1 ground and pound back in the day. And that's how he got it done. So I guess he has been taken down at least once this career. So that could potentially happen. But yeah, give me Braxton Smith. I think he finds the chin. No confidence whatsoever at all. Like this is just a heavyweight coin toss, and I want him to win. I would never be caught betting on this fight.
It's very clear you do your homework if you were seeing Chase Sherman's cousin's post, Pat.
I went through serious levels of dude. They have like every. I also found out that was not Chase Sherman's debut. He had a couple other pro fights. He had a fight against a guy named Shrek and it's one of his first pro fights. And the guy looked about what you would expect as well. So, yeah.
But all right, Liam, what do you think for this one, man?
Yeah, Mel in the comments says, look into Braxton record. It's inaccurate. I can't speak to that for sure, but I did find some footage where it looked like he was competing down a weight class, maybe 205, 185. If that's the case, his grappling is poo-poo, or at least it was at the time of this footage. It had to have been a long time ago. But either way, right, it kind of looked like there was some MMA footage and then just complete blackout for, X amount of years, and then he's just back and knocking fools' heads off. Now, what I will note about him is I think that he is way faster, and I think that he's way more athletic than Parker Porter. So I do think that there's a non-insignificant chance that he just annihilates Parker Porter in the first minute and a half. I like Parker Porter a lot. He follows me on Instagram. He's a hell of a guy. He's a nice guy. But the things that he's not good at is moving quickly around the octagon. That's just not him, right? He's a very slow guy. And so if you give him a slow-paced striking fight, he is tooth and nail. He's a dog. He'll stay in there, right? He's a tough guy too. You're not going to put him down unless you really hurt him. This guy can do that. He's very fast and athletic. And he's generating a lot of power. That's what he's doing to really hurt these guys. Like, the thing about him is, I think he's a horrible nail. Just from appearances, just from watching him fight regionally, I have not liked anything I saw when anybody hits him back. So I think if this fight gets extended at all, Parker Porter is going to beat him in rounds 2 or 3 at a very high clip, or decision him easily, because Parker Porter has a thing about not trying to finish anybody. I don't know what he did. I don't know what it is about him. Like, he'll have somebody just death gassed in the UFC underneath him, and he's like, I'm going to lay in the top half guard until this fight's over. But outside of that, like, just from all appearances, this guy's going to sell out everything to win in round 1. So the numbers don't make sense on that prop, in my opinion. But then outside of that, I don't know that he has things to really offer Porter down the stretch. We don't know about his cardio. It's an unknown, but the pace at which he fights, the mannerisms in which he fights, you don't see anybody else do it at heavyweight because it doesn't make sense. He's doing flying punches through the air. He's throwing head kicks, right? No leg kicks, head kicks only. Like, this guy is all action all the time. I think the UFC is like, yo, Parker, sorry that we keep making you land on all these grenades. Like, here's one that if you could just last through for a little while, you could win. But I have a really bad feeling that he's going to get absolutely nuked in the first minute of this fight. And I like Parker, so I'm rooting against that. I think that his decision prop at 7-1 is a little wide. I think, there's maybe some props on Porter in sub 2, sub 3, but just I have a really bad feeling. It's just guys with head kick potential, flying punches through the air against a guy who's just standing there like this, slow as molasses. Just, it's not a great way to be. So Parker Porter takedown clinic. That's my goal. That's what's in my heart. But I'm not betting that.
All right, I'm pretty much the only person on Porter here. I'm kind of surprised. In terms of where he trains, Braxton, according to him, by himself up until recently. In his last fight, during the interview, he literally said that he's been training by himself, doesn't have a team or a gym. I think he said something about going to one. I don't know where he went, but I forgot who. I think Pat sent this to me or someone else. The picture of Braxton sparring with the guy who kind of looks like Parker Porter if he weighed like another 100 pounds. Dude, I don't see it here with. Yeah, can he nuke him for sure? That can happen, but I was looking at the odds. They kind of suck for that. Smith round 1, I'm seeing plus 200. I don't know what it is on the better books. This is just best fight odds.
It's way different.
Plus 370 for the KO.
Yeah, that's just absurd for a guy that every fight he's had has ended within 2 minutes.
Yeah, but he's ass, so I feel like it should be wide. I feel like it should be wider. I took Porter at minus 130. I put 1.3 to win one, and like I said, can he get nuked? Yes, but I don't think this is a Justin Tafa. I don't think this is a Chris Daukaus. I don't think Chris Daukaus is any good, but he has fast hands. It's very different in my opinion. I don't exactly agree that Smith has this like crazy speed. I think that after a few minutes, Parker Porter, if he can just push him against the fence, wear on him, that's going to be it. Like, he's going to wear him down.
You never heard me say Smith was fast. I said Parker was slow.
I thought someone said Smith has fast hands. Maybe it wasn't you, but
he's explosive. That's speed.
Yeah, but I feel like the hand speed actually goes to Porter.
This is speed for a limited time, so he's not quick.
Dude,
for a
if
long
Parker
time.
Porter has faster hands on the night than this guy, I swear to God, I will just have to slow clap it, dude, because that is not Parker Porter in my mind. He's just like he's literally like a guy out of the 1940s is what I feel like. Like he's just been placed from another era he's like, you want to do a whole like put your dukes up, you know? That's what I think of.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he's going to get the job done. I think he's going to grapple. Yeah. What I'm looking at is the round 2 prop. I know a lot of people are on it. It just makes sense. Again, it's an unknown. We don't know what Smith is going to look like in round 2, but we can make an educated guess from what we've seen so far. And my educated guess is he's going to be freaking exhausted. So I do think Porter will get that later finish. Round 2, the decision isn't the worst thing either. Liam, you mentioned it, plus 700. Again, Porter sometimes decides just not to do anything. So that's possible. But I think it's probably just going to be a round 2 finish for Porter. I don't know if I'll stick with my money line. I don't know if I'll add maybe a quarter unit to that plus 650. I mean, now at minus 177, it's just a pass for me. But I think Porter wins, personally.
Dude, Porter has got the weight of the entire UFC heavyweight division on his back. You know, you can't let a guy who trains like at a Pilates studio slide into the UFC heavyweight roster and look like he belongs. Like sadly in 2023, he looks like he could hang at the bottom of the roster at heavyweight. That's how bad it's become. This is basically like a black Hamdi Abdelwahab. So let's get it.
The amount of love for Smith, I can't believe it.
Let's go.
I'm shocked.
Let's get it.
I'll say this though. You know what kind of vibes it's kind of giving me when what's his face made his debut against John Vellante. I was there for this, unfortunately.
Oh, Chris Barnett?
Yes, Chris Barnett came in. I think he was the underdog, at least for the opener. And, everybody crapped on him. He's not very good. And he's not very good, but he got the knockout.
Yeah, John Vellante had trained for 3 years. He's just showing up, literally just taking paychecks, dude. He was showing up not looking like he had trained for 15 minutes. He was like, all right, let's run it. I mean, I'm still a tough enough guy. I used to play football. You ever heard? Like,
I wasn't able to watch the fight, so I had the updated feed on my phone, just the results, and I refreshed it. I saw Chris Barnett defeated John Vellante by spinning wheel kick, and I thought somebody was fucking with me with the results. Like I thought they just got in there and just were making something up.
But at least Chris Barnett, he had a pretty long record before the UFC. He has fought for a minute. He's very experienced. Which we can't. Braxton Smith fought one time in 2014, loses to Chase Sherman, possibly fought at 205, like Liam said. We don't know. And then he comes back in 2022, throws off, I think, 4 fights in a row, fights the same guy twice, Ja'Cory Savage. So, I don't know how you could be so confident on him.
I want that Chase Sherman, Braxton Smith footage so bad. If anybody out there is watching and has somehow found it, I want it. I'm so close to just DMing Braxton or Chase Sherman.
Not Braxton. You got to hit up Sherman.
I got to see one of them for one of them has it, dude. And I found the fight poster of the event, but unfortunately the promotion that they did it under got bought out by CFFC in the pandemic. So I think all of the records for this have been wiped.
But all right, we can move on to another fight that is not this one. We've got this is great. We got Marina Rodriguez versus Virna Jandiroba. Rodriguez 16-2-2, 36 years old. She's 5'6" with a 65-inch reach. Jandiroba 18-3-0. She's going to be 2 years younger, 3 inches shorter, and have a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Patrick, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, man, classic Brazilian strawweight striker versus grappler. Marina Rodriguez, the striker, done pretty well, and Virna Jandiroba, she's going to be the far better grappler. And once she gets a hold of a limb, she's really hard to shake off. And that's going to be the story of this fight, in my opinion. I think for every second it's standing at kickboxing range, Marina Rodriguez is going to be so far ahead, just lighting up Virna Jandiroba. And that's the side I settled on because the money line came down so much to minus 125. I put a couple units on her at that cost. I like it. I'll take my odds that she can do more work on this in the striking realm before the part of the fight where Virna, grabs a hold of her in the clinch, dives onto a leg, and then you got to be stuck defending that for the next 2 minutes of the fight. So as long as we can get rounds 1, rounds 2, or round 3, where more of the striking has been done, on the part of Rodriguez, I think we should be good to cash that bet. Virna Jandiroba, she has mostly fought fellow grapplers in the UFC. There's only been a couple examples of strikers that she's fought, whereas Marina Rodriguez, she's fought this type of opponent before. And she beat Mackenzie Dern. She beat Amanda Hebos, girls that were kind of dangerous on the mat. not the best strikers, and those girls both beat Verna Jandiroba. So I'm not doing MMA math. I'm just saying that one person here in Marina Rodriguez has actually prepared for like a wide variety of opponents before and come out victorious, where I can't say the same for Verna. So I'm on that side. Minus 125 on Rodriguez, 2 units.
All right, Liam. I think he's saying to wait. Okay, we'll come back to Liam. So I'll go. I have Marina Rodriguez minus 145 for 3 units. Gotten a ton of shit on it, and I know a lot of people on Verna, and I get it. I get the point. It's the same point over and over and over again. Marina Rodriguez, once she gets taken down, is stuck on her back. I get it. But first of all, when it happened against Jan, that was not the case, right? Jan, not a real grappler, not really, not the case. She gets taken down by Dern one time off like 9 attempts. I understand Dern isn't a great wrestler. She doesn't really shoot. She does these weird things, but to get stuck under Dern, I think, is one thing. I think Dern, I understand both her and Jandiroba are high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners. Both of them have a ton of credentials. I can't tell you, honestly, which one has more. Maybe Liam knows better. He's knowledge in the grappling realm, but I don't think she's going to get held down, really. I get maybe for a little bit, but I think she's going to defend the takedowns. And on the feet, I think the disparity is huge. I don't think she's getting submitted. And I think, honestly, I think a late KO is live. I probably won't touch it just because I already have 3 units down on this. And look, I have to respect Verna. I have to respect the fact that she will probably get a takedown or 2. I just think overall, Marina will survive. Maybe she'll lose a round, but she's going to outstrike this woman. I think hurt her and either win a decision or knock her out late. How about you, Liam, if you're back yet?
I'm back, brother. Sorry about that. Share Dog and Best Fight Odds both have a unique ability to just absolutely freeze my computer screen. So I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you, but I just could not click over to unmute myself. Now, as far as this fight's concerned, unfortunately, I am on the other side here. I haven't bet it yet, but just on a gut level feeling, I made a lot of money fading Marina Rodriguez in the UFC. Now I picked my spots. I've also lost money fading Marina Rodriguez. She did knock my girl Amanda Hebos into another dimension twice because Herb Dean, that's Herb Dean's fault, to quote the great Derek Lewis. But all things considered, right? I think that Marina is extremely dangerous on the feet. She's a long striker. She's got a lot of skills. But I also feel like people had overrated her for a time. Maybe that's the opposite now coming into this fight because she's coming off the loss. But against Lemos, that was a spot where, I went from betting a lot against Lemos to being like, now Lemos is undervalued. That's kind of the way I work, right? I'm an assassin, right? I'm for hire. I'll switch teams on you from a betting perspective all the time because we're really looking for good numbers, right? So it's like, if I can get a really high plus number on somebody that I think has good paths to victory, that's what I'm looking for, fight over fight. And if I think they're undervalued. For Verna, I feel like she's almost constantly undervalued just because of how she fights. She's a little bit more on the boring side, especially if you don't like grappling. But I think she's really underrated in terms of how good she is among grapplers. Nobody can really punk Verna in the grappling in the UFC. Not Mackenzie, not Amanda, not any of these girls. And to your earlier point, I think Mackenzie's probably the most credentialed submission grappler in the women's side in the UFC. But she also is just having a hard time translating it always to MMA. That's been my gut feel. I bet Xiao Nan against Mackenzie Dern, who I'm a huge fan of personally, because I was just like, she's been working specifically on just grappling defense. That's it. And if Mackenzie can't submit her, I feel like she's out to lunch. I don't think Verna's out to lunch if she can't submit. I think she can win by getting takedowns, holding top control. So that's why I feel like she's a little more dynamic a threat. I think that's why there's been a correction on the money line. Is it as tempting at plus 125 as like plus 170 or whatever it was? Like, obviously not. But I do think that there's some merit there. And I do think at 5-1, the subline's a little bit aggressive, right? Because you look at the past, Cynthia Calvillo, 10-8 round to get a draw because she got the back and dominated from there, almost got the finish. That's the kind of thing where I think if Verna's smart here, she's going to try and get a really good position and beat her up because she just got knocked out and she's been in a lot of damaging fights. She's had a lot of fights up on the feet, trading back and forth and me and you and who's tougher. And Xiao Nan, I thought, beat the ever-loving crap out of her too. And it was a gutsy rally in that fight. So for me, this is the kind of price where I can understand people wanting to get back on board because when she wins, she looks like a minus 300 favorite and beats the hell out of people, right? And if she's not getting takedowns, Verna's probably going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. but I do think she's going to get takedowns here. So that's what makes me think she's live to get the sub. And that's also what makes me think she could grit out a decision here. If it gets hairy, if it gets dicey down the stretch, it could also be draw territory once again, because I just think Marina has such a fatal flaw on the ground where she could give up, 3-4 minutes of the round and then, lose a fight that she won, 11 minutes, but the 4 minutes she lost cost her a 10-8 round and it's a draw. That's the kind of thing that makes me concerned for her here. But overall, I wish you the best of luck. No action for me yet, but leaning towards the Verna side here. Jiu-jitsu.
Daz, I promise you, no matter how big Pat is, my head is definitely bigger than his. They do make hats this big. I have a gigantic head. Mushroom, we'll see. I got a big head. Doesn't always translate to big smarts, but sometimes it does.
Huh?
But we can move on to the next fight here. Oh, wait, no, we can't. Mushroom hasn't gone yet. Mushroom, what do you think for this one, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Rodriguez side myself. I get it. The worrying part is she does get stuck off her back. And once Jandiroba gets a hold of you, she doesn't let the fuck go, man. It's like trying to get your fucking arm or any part of your body away from a fucking pit bull. So I mean that does worry me a bit, but I think it's just two different worlds on the feet. And I just need I don't think Rodriguez's takedown defense is the worst. I think it just needs to hold up. And I think Verna trying to get takedown, and then she doesn't get the takedown. She's going to be getting pieced up. In the meantime, I'm kind of leaning the Rodriguez side. I'm actually leaning. I've been giving a lot of them out tonight, but I still like the third round / decision play for Marina Rodriguez in this one.
Do you know what that is, Mushroom, odds-wise?
I don't. I should be more prepared, but I don't. I'm sure it's probably decent.
Yeah.
My Rivers account, yeah.
I'll pull it up real quick on best fight odds.
Get it, Liam. But yeah, normally I'd also consider it, but at like minus 140, I felt like it was just playable straight. But we can move on to our next one. This is going to be something. We've got Chaos Williams versus Rolando Bedoya. Williams 13-3-0. He's 29 years old, 6 feet tall with a 77-inch reach. Bedoya making his debut. He's 14-1-0. Going to be 1 inch shorter. Going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Let me check my notes. Liam, you're up, brother. What do you think here?
I got you. Plus 125 was a round 3 or decision. Now, as far as this fight goes, I've liked Chaos Williams since he got to the UFC. I think he's a good fighter. I feel like he kind of got some grief because he's a knockout guy and people kind of take away from that. But he also has some bouts of inactivity in terms of like in his fights, kind of be a little bit patient at times and wait. And then he gets into these like tit for tat battles where it's like, couple leg kicks here, couple leg kicks there, and then I blitz you with 10 shots at once, right? And I think that in this fight, that's probably going to be just fine. I think he's probably going to land every shot he wants to when he comes forward in that blitz, because the guy that he's fighting just seems very, willing to get into, a tit for tat brawl. I touch you and we get in the pocket and then we're standing pretty close to each other and I move my head just out of the way and I put my hand just in time. I think that that's a disaster against Chaos. I think he's a little too fast and hits a little bit too hard. Only 1 win career by submission. I was looking to see if I could be a little contrarian. It's like minus 110 on the KO prop, but I just have a feeling Chaos spent a little bit of time outside the octagon, and I think he's been improving. I followed him on social media for a while. I don't know if I do now, but just like because he posts a lot of stuff, but just he had been posting like in Jackson Wink and in these places, like kind of going around the country, getting more looks from Murcielago MMA in Detroit, which has been having, a little bit of a resurgence and a rival, let's say, in the UFC lately. And a bunch of their fighters made it. Were they all up to snuff? Maybe not quite, but just showing that they're getting towards that level, making improvements. So I feel like Chaos Williams out the mud, going to put this guy in the dirt.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very heavy on Chaos here, so I'm gonna start by trying to maybe, say some good things about Bedoya before I start roasting him. First off, he's at Shootbox, so he's a Peruvian fighter, but he's at a good gym. He's gonna be with teammates here, And I know someone in the comment section was talking about a Brazilian parlay. I will say this. I know personally a lot of the Gracies are going to be there. I do know that for a fact. But is that really going to affect all the Brazilians? I don't know. But look, maybe they're all together. Maybe there's something here that the matchmakers are trying to do. I don't know. Not a narrative for me, but something I'd bring up. He is at shoot box. He'll come in hot. That's all I could really say. Maybe around 1 KO. I saw plus 1,800 on Bet Online. Maybe FanDuel has something better. Best fight odds isn't showing it for some reason. They're being weird as usual. But look, realistically, I think Williams is going to kill somebody. I think Bedoya is way too hittable. He's a shoot box guy. And if he fights anything like our guy, Willie Cat Santos, he's going to come in there looking for big shots and probably getting them, but also taking gigantic shots. So I think he's going to get knocked the hell out. I think it's going to happen relatively early. I actually played the under 1.5, which I almost never, ever do. I hate under 1.5s, but I played it for plus 125. I threw half a unit on it. And I do have all kinds of money on Williams. I had a parlay with him and Evloev. Of course, that fell apart. I wish I could, you can't cash out on Bet MMA, so I just leave my bets in. I want to parlay him more now with the new Evloev line. It's like minus 600. I understand that's extreme chalk, but I think we'll talk about it later. He's also going to destroy. But in terms of this fight, like I said, I just don't see what Bedoya is going to do here other than a quick knockout. So maybe I'll hedge myself a little because I am exposed very much so with Williams. Maybe I'll do that round 1 KO for like 0.2 units. And that would pretty much win back my entire Chaos Williams stake. And I think that's the only way Bedoya wins. I don't think he wins. I think Williams could be even wider. It's a mismatch for me. So Chaos Williams is my pick and by knockout. How about you, Philly?
Yeah, I guess I'll do like you did. I'll try to say some nice stuff about Rolando to start off with. I guess he's an okay striker. He has a variety of strikes, kicks, goes to the leg, to the body. Like you said, he's probably going to come out hot. We'll throw some combinations. Man, red flags, though. Obviously some short notice going on. He's making a tough fucking UFC debut against Chaos Williams. This is a fucking tough out for your fucking first fight in UFC. And, and a big crowd there as well, too. And like you said, he's hittable. And to me, he keeps his hands too fucking low. He's kind of pillow-fisted, in my opinion. And I don't think Chaos is going to respect anything that's coming back at him. I think Chaos is going to walk him down. He's going to find his chin. Now, this guy has been out there crushing, these cans out in the fucking Peru regionals. But listen, I think Chaos is just going to walk him down. It's going to be early, too. I think he finds his chin. Like I said, as hittable as he is for me, and it scares me how low his hands are as well for a guy who's that hittable. Don't like anything about it. I think it's like a round 1 knockout for Chaos here.
All right. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, not much different. I mean, Rolando, he's decently sized, but he seems a little boxy for this weight class. You know what I mean? Like a little chubby. Like he could maybe make 155. He is 5'11" with a pretty long reach. But yeah, he just looked a little out of shape on the last fight I saw. But it's been a while, right? It's been like a year since he's fought a little bit more than that. He's still young, at a good camp. He's been proven durable so far, although I've seen him almost get knocked out in several of these like low-level fights he's been in. Like he eats 3, 4, 5 punches just to get in range, but he throws some good strikes. Loves to get in firefights. I like the aggression, jumping knees, but yeah, I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. Like he's never faced a guy at the level of Chaos Williams, who's not the most technical guy going, but he does look pretty sharp compared to anything that Bedoya has seen so far. So just like you, Mike, I have that busted parlay of Chaos Williams and Evloev. So I'm 2 units deep at minus 315 on Chaos Williams, and I doubled down. I put 1 more unit on his KO prop at minus 135.
There we go. Take one.
All right. Real quick, I do want to bring this up. None of us have. Hey, the real estate agent angle is a very real thing. They don't win fights in the UFC. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. They're 0-2.
I made that joke on Twitter and someone actually got mad at me. And I'm like, dude, I have 4.5 units on Williams. I'm just joking. But also here, if you're not following Mushroom or Patrick, you're making a big mistake. Both guys super sharp. Mushroom, Pat, you better be following them. And Liam, of course, if you're not. And you should also subscribe to me, obviously. But yeah, definitely wanted to point out that comment, and we can move on to the next fight. We've got Devin Clark versus Kennedy Nchukwu. Clark, 14-7-0, 33 years old, 6 feet tall with a 75-inch reach, coming off taking a ton of money from me. Nchukwu, 11-3-0. He's 3 years younger, 5 inches taller, 8-inch reach advantage, and I believe he's still at Fortis. I'm not positive about that one. Devin Clark, I didn't mention. He's up in Denver. I don't know if he's at Elevation, or I know a lot of the guys there are now at blanking on the name, something Muay Thai, but I know a lot of guys are cross-training or working at both. I don't know where Clark is, but I'll start us off here. My gut reaction was Nchukwu all day, and the only hesitation was Clark's last fight with Don Jung, where I put like 3 units on Don Jung because I was super confident that Clark wouldn't have long-term success with the takedowns, couldn't hang in the striking, and Don Jung just didn't pull up. So I'm trying to keep that recency bias away, because other than that, I think Nchukwu, like, he should dominate this fight. We've seen some grappling from him. We've seen him, the Carl Roberson fight, he went D1, but Carl Roberson also is not a 205er. Like, the guy shouldn't be fighting at 205 and also isn't that great, especially on the ground. So it was good to see that Kennedy could do that. I don't think that's going to be available here. His takedown defense is pretty good, I would say. I think the number is like 80% or 70%, something along those lines. It is hard to take tall guys down. Liam wrestled. I wrestled. I don't know Liam's experience, but as a shorter guy myself, I hated wrestling tall dudes. They would just tripod up, and I couldn't do much about it, and it would really piss me off. So I would really prefer wrestling guys my size, and I can imagine a guy like Nchukwu, he's going to be a pain in the ass to take down. Once you do, he kind of does get stuck on his back. We've seen that. But I think he's going to be able to keep it on the feet. I think he's much more dangerous on the feet than Devin Clark. I think he's still improving. We're still seeing improvements coming from Nchukwu. So I do think it's him all day. But it's very, very hard for me to play this price. I do think he's one of these guys that's difficult to trust as a big favorite, minus 180, 200. So the only thing I did was I did a half unit parlay with him and Williams. That's all I did. Came out to plus 101, half unit on it. Call it a day. Like I said, I'm going live. It's a rule, a law. You have to bet every fight. So that's one of them for me. What do you think, Mushroom?
Yeah, on the Nchukwu side, look, the guy's got power in his hands. The 8-inch reach advantage, as you mentioned, long rangey. He's got them straight punches that you mentioned earlier that you like. He uses his kicks. He's got good body kicks. He's got good cardio, and I think it is like 80% for his takedown defense. He's got good wins and losses. But, man, he's kind of like a slow starter, kind of low volume sometimes. And that knockout by Don Jung to his fucking guard or whatever, like, that's a bad look. But on the other side, I've never really been impressed with Devin Clark, even with his dad in his corner and all that shit. Like, I've just never really impressed with the dude.
They took him out.
He like, yeah, I know he's not. So look, he's got okay power in his hands as well. You know, he can be aggressive early too. He's good in the clinch. I think he's a decent wrestler. And I do worry about Kennedy's fucking ability to get the fuck up off his back. I think he's been improving that. At least that's what I'm hoping. But again, there's a lot of red flags on the Devin Clark side as well. I think he's been finished in 6 out of 7 of his losses. So, and his chin's kind of suspect. Poor striking defense. He's pillow fisted in my opinion as well. Going against a guy who hits pretty fucking hard. Again, I don't think Kennedy's going to have anything to fear. I don't think he's going to feel after the first couple of punches. He's not going to have too much. I think he's just going to hurt this kid. And he's going to have problems with Kennedy's range for sure. I like Kennedy in this matchup. I don't know if I'm going to make an official bet at the window, but I like him by knockout if I was to make a prediction for this fight.
It's kind of crazy. He opened as a dog, but the money came right in on him, which makes a lot of sense. So what do I want to say? Oh, yeah. So Devin Clark's dad was always in his corner, and we always heard him. Last fight is when they took him out the first time. And, of course, Devin Clark looks better. It was funny. You could still hear his pops. They had him, like, in the first row or something, and you could still totally hear the guy. But it was a little bit less, a little less loud. We'll see if maybe that makes him, like, more focused. But, nah, I think Nchukwu wins. Patrick, how about you?
Yeah, I echo a lot of your guys' thoughts, man. Like I'm on the Kennedy side, but the money line I think is a little bit too much at this point, minus 190 for a guy that's just kind of hard to trust at the at the UFC level so far. I mean, the guy's a slow starter, like Mushroom said. The durability still, I can't get that out of my mind. Like Mushroom was talking about, like the weird phantom elbows of Da Un Jung right through the guard. Like that's just I hate to see that. But Kennedy and Nchukwi is really good at like staying in the fight, maybe losing round one and then accelerating into the fight, having that finishing power late. Devin Clark, his durability is kind of hit or miss too. So sometimes he's durable, sometimes not. His losses have actually aged pretty well recently, including that Azamat Mirzakhanov one. But I think Devin Clark's going to have to stay on him like glue, stay on the inside of that long reach advantage from Nchukwi here. I think he's going to struggle to do so. I think Nchukwu's volume could eventually level up a little bit as the fight goes on. And the guy, I don't think he's completely reinvented yet. This is a great test because Ian Cutelaba in his last fight always finds a way to lose. Who do you fight before that? What am I thinking of here? Kennedy and Nchukwu's fight before that one. Carl Roberson, again, he looked good with the wrestling offense, but Roberson not a great test either. So I still don't quite know where to place Nchukwi to get a good read on him. So I'll err on the side of him getting like a late finish in this fight, but Devin Clark by decision might not be a bad contrarian way to look at it.
All right. Liam, what do you think?
I'll be short with this one. I hate this fight. Both these guys, not guys I like to bet on historically. I think Kennedy and Nchukwi at his best is just a very durable guy that is trying to get better and just doesn't strike me as a really natural fighter. So he's a guy that's worked his way into this position and he's a dog and he takes some shots, but just very unnatural as a fighter. Doesn't seem super aggressive, comes out there very passive normally to start his fights and picks up the pack if only you put it down. Da Un Jung just went out there and just barreled him, just bang, 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 and he never started doing anything really. So for me, that's a huge red flag. But outside of that, I do think he's looked a little bit better overall. Like Devin Clark losing a decision to Iwan Cutelaba, that's shameful. That's a little bit shameful, right? I think we can all agree. I think he might be the only person with that distinction in the UFC. And I had Ion Cutelaba round one at plus 290, round 1 and 2 at plus 140. And if you guys remember that fight, I think he busted out his teeth and Devin Clark was just holding on to him please just get me to the end of this 15 minutes. Horrible look. But what we've seen is actually some improvements really recently from Devin Clark, where I feel he's talked about this. I was kind of just going through the motions of my career. And I realized I was hemming and hawing around and now I need to do something with my life and my career right now. And he made some improvements, some adjustments. I feel we've seen much more strategic approach to his career in terms of the fights he's taking and everything else. And, I actually liked wrestling bigger guys, longer guys. I wrestled up a weight and intentionally by my senior and junior year because, I'll just tell you, I'll give you guys some of the game. I'm slow in my feet, right? I'm just not a very foot quick person. I work on it every day to try and get a little bit better, but I know that about myself, right? So I like going with guys that are a little bit, even if they're longer, whatever, just a little bit slower, a little bit bigger. That's fine. That will slow things down and give me more things to grab a hold of. Whereas other really short, stout, compact guys, there's not really much, you can't really grab a hold of them, right? I like to just have something I can hold on to and start working. A wrist is a great place to start. So in this kind of fight, I feel Devin Clark, we saw in his last fight, there was no, let's sort this out at range and I'm going to poke and prod at you with my jab. I'm going to push you to the fence. And once we're on the fence, I'm going to try and punch you in the thigh or do whatever I have to do to get 15 minutes off this clock and get home and not get hurt. That's what he wants to do in his fight. So I feel he's going to be very risk averse. I do think he has the cardio to fight for 15 minutes in a very boring fashion. So I think it's going to be a Devin Clark decision and I hate it. God bless. Good luck, everybody.
All right, we can move on to our next one here. We've got Drew Dober versus Matt Frevola. Another fight that started a lot of debate. Dober, 26-11-0. He's 34 years old, 5'8" with the 70-inch reach. I believe he trains up in elevation as well. Frevola, 10-3-1. He's 2 years younger, going to be 1 inch taller, 1 inch reach advantage, and I believe he's training over at Sarah Longo, if I'm not mistaken, or Long Island MMA. I'm not sure, but Mushroom, start us off.
Yeah, let's start off on the Drew Dober side. Obviously, guy's a good striker. He's got power in his hands. That power's there. All 3 rounds, he carries it. Got a good left hook. Another guy does body work. Love that stuff. He's got that chin, man. He's going to stand there. He'll take one to give you one. A lot of times, this is a little harder than yours. Good cardio, like I said. The guy's durable. And I think he's finished like 19 of 26 of his wins or something like that. So the guy likes to finish as well. Obviously, he's fucking hittable. Obviously, he's taking lots of damage. One day that chin's going to go. Could Frevola do it? I don't know. I don't know if Frevola's the guy that's going to do it, to be honest with you. Let's go on the other side of the fight. Now, I know a lot of people in the MMA community like Matt Frevola. I even fuck with him on Twitter and everything like that. That's still not going to make me really take his side. I do like a lot of stuff about Frevola. He's another guy who's got power in his hands. He comes forward. He's got those looping bodies, but the thing he has is that wrestling. I know that Dober's not the best with wrestlers. And Frevola's getting like almost three takedowns a fight. Good jiu-jitsu, good cardio, and he's beat some good competition as well. But I don't know that, because he's got these recent knockouts. Hey, I hope he falls in love with his hands and stays in front of Dober because I want Dober. But I don't know if his durability is going to hold up against somebody like Dober, to be honest with you. I mean, he gets knocked down. He overcommits. He's open for a counter when he overcommits. And, man, I hope he fell in love with his hands. I hope he stands in front of Dober and gets knocked down because I got Drew Dober by knockout.
All right. How about you, Pat?
Yeah, I'm on the same side. I'm on the Drew Dober side. I do have 2 units on him at minus 210, which, not the best money line going, but I'll tell you what, I think that if you're going durability for durability with Drew Dober, you're probably in for not a good time. And Matt Frevola, not only he kind of has the opposite style of a chin of Drew Dober, right? This guy is getting pieced up by Terrence McKinney in 7 seconds. This guy's going to, I remember watching that Lando Venata fight from when Venata was fighting Zell Huber. I was doing tape on him. I forgot that Venata pieced him up and knocked him down several times in that fight, which is why it was a draw between him and Frevola. So, look, if I knew Frevola would wrestle from pillar to post, maybe I'd be more on that side. And I think he does have a chance to win a decision in this spot. But and that wouldn't be a bad hedge spot too, because I've seen that all the way up to plus 400 on some books. But I'm on the Drew Dober side. I think that his good durability and the fact that he is a little bit hittable early on in the fight might be like a gift and a curse in a way. Matt Frevola might land flush on the chin of Drew Dober. That might trigger him to go into that firefight mode we've seen the past 2 fights, and then he's not going to be able to match the firepower coming back his way. So give me Drew Dober by probably around 1 or round 2 knockout.
All right, Liam.
Yeah, I hate to be on the other side, gentlemen, but unfortunately I am. Haven't bet this one yet either, but strong consideration for the underdog here in Matt Frevola. And let me make my case. Matt Frevola, just looking through the resume, right? I think the recent performances are going to make people think, man, this guy's never beaten anybody good. Who's Atman Azaitar? Who's a Gennaro Valdez? I can't pick these guys out of a lineup. But you go back and you look at his career, and he's beaten a Jalen Turner, and he's beaten a Roush Manfio. And you can put some context on both of those. But overall, I feel like Matt Frevola has shown himself to be a very competent fighter in every position, right? On the ground, he's got great takedowns. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. I think the part of that fight that's the most forgotten is the fact that he nearly submitted Jalen Turner on multiple occasions. He just got over-aggressive, right? He was in good spots, so he's like, man, I better try and submit this guy right now. And we've seen subsequent performances. Jalen Turner revolutionized his jiu-jitsu because Matt Frevola exposed him, 100% exposed him on the ground. And that was after Jalen Turner, came into the UFC, got dealt from the bottom of the deck with Luque. Then he comes in, he gets the big win. They're trying to turn him around real quick, get him another quick win. This guy's huge. He's got the knockout power. He's going to put down Frevola, and Frevola easily out-wrestles him for 15 minutes, gets the decision, right? It's just Frevola hasn't always done the right thing. He hasn't always done the smart thing. But sometimes when his back was against the wall, he has. And in big spots, he has. And against tough fighters, he has. He's gone the whole 15 minutes. He's won. So I think that sometimes people hold it against him a little too much because he's a wild, fun guy. He'd prefer to do that. But when you have a Genaro Valdez and a Natman Azaitar in front of you, maybe you feel a little bit more willing to take risks. Drew Dober, he's like, I don't think Matt Frevola is just an idiot, right? I don't think he's just going to be like, oh, this is the same as Genaro Valdez. Let's bang it out in the pot. I feel like he's going to understand this is a different challenge. And to beat somebody like Drew Dober, got to mix up my levels. I got to try and take this guy down. And it is a Sarah Longo member. This is a guy who trains with Aljamain, the champ, other relevant contenders. He goes around the country to Extreme Couture, to Gracie Tampa South with Billy the Squid. This guy's been getting in work with great guys for a very long time. So I think Matt Frevola is a high-quality lightweight fighter, and I think that Drew Dober can absolutely knock him out. But I do think he lost a clear round 1 to Bobby Green, who I bet on against Drew Dober. And by the way, if Bobby Green didn't throw pillow fist, I think he might have knocked Drew Dober into next Tuesday because he landed every punch he wanted to in round 1. And he was honestly too confident because of it. He's like, man, I can't miss against this guy. I'm going to go back at it. And he got killed, right? I remember watching that going, oh my God, Bobby, everything was perfect until we died. Like, I felt like that was a justified bet, even in hindsight. So granted, Drew Dober's power is not changing. He can knock Matt Frevola out at any point in this fight. That's going to be a live possibility. If you're on the Frevola side, you got to know that going in. But it's a numbers game. And for me, I feel like if Matt Frevola had never been knocked out by that guy in round 1 in embarrassing fashion that nobody's ever heard of since the Reyes guy, if that had never happened, Matt Frevola is even money in this fight, in my opinion. So that's why I'm willing to take the risk that it doesn't happen again. And I might be crying in my coffee, but I like Matt Frevola. I think he's got the better ground game. I think he's competitive on the feet. I think he's got good cardio to go for 15 minutes. I think he's a dangerous fight for anybody.
All right. Before I go, man, I like this guy. He knows what's up. I always have shoey bets. Not yet. Believe it or not, not yet. Maybe I'll make one on this card. Not on this fight, though, because I've already got the dog as well. And I'm very happy Liam at least agrees with me. I played him at plus 210, man. I thought it was a great price. I put 2 units on it, and this is probably one of my favorite bets I have on the card. If he does not get knocked out by Drew Dober, I firmly believe he's going to win this fight. I do think he's going to use the wrestling. Just to mention what Liam said, I did double check. It is Sarah Longo where he's at. What do we know about Longo? One of the best coaches in the game, one of the most intelligent coaches in the game. And if you don't think that he's going to be telling Frevola, buddy, we're wrestling in this fight, I think you're mistaken. Maybe Frevola ignores his coaches. They don't always listen. And he does fall in love with that striking. I just don't think so. And I think it's a good thing that his striking is getting better. He can hang on the feet. He's not going to be just shooting for takedowns. He can mix it up. But I think his best path, and what I'm hoping he does as a better on him, is that he grapples. So I really think he's going to win this fight. And also, I just want to say, everyone is talking about Terrence McKinney clipping Frevola. But how about the fact that he also clipped Drew Dober? I haven't heard that one. Yeah, he didn't knock him out, but he almost did the exact same thing. He was literally beating the crap out of him, knocked him down. Like, he exhausted himself, and we know McKinney, 2 minutes, that's it. And I was a firm believer of McKinney. I truly thought the cardio would come. And the one time he tried to use it, he died again. But he knocked both of them down. So let's just mention that. Yeah, Frevola went down and to sleep right away, and Dober survived and came back, got the knockout. I understand. But we also don't know how that fight plays out with Frevola if it doesn't happen. That does not happen often, even with very strong guys. That was 7 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I had McKinney there. That was pretty cool to hit, at least. He was like plus 250. But I really do think Frevola is going to be able to survive on the feet. I think he's going to wrestle. Look, Dober's been taken down a bunch of times. He gets up pretty quick, yes, but throwing away the Islam Makhachev fight, who cares about that? This is not Islam Makhachev. But how do you get taken down 5 times by Brad Riddell and you don't think Frevola is going to be taking him down? Like, I really think he will. If he shoots, he's going to get the takedowns. I really, truly think that. So, yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I really like Frevola here. He's probably my favorite underdog. But we can move on to the next fight. This will be interesting. We got Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. Gracie 5-1-0. He's 34 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. He's training out in Minnesota at some kind of camp. I know an unnecessary amount of his history just because I Googled him and I was trying to figure him out. His pops, Rickson, they have some kind of beef, so that's why he dipped out to Minnesota and he's in some camp. It's hard to know what we're going to see from him, but regardless, he's in Minnesota. Jourdain 13-6-1. He's 7 years younger at 27. He's going to be the same height, have a 1-inch height reach disadvantage. Checking my quick chart. Patrick, start us off here.
I could not be more excited for this fight, man. I'm a huge Gracie family fan. I love everything they've done for the sport, and this is, pretty much like the heir to the throne, honestly. In Kron Gracie, it's a shame he hasn't been around in the league that much. But if you go back to like watching, I'm sure Liam knows, like watching like Metamoris back in the day, watching the ADCC trials from like 10 years ago, when Kron Gracie was having some of the most spectacular grappling matches you'll ever see. The dude's a savage, and his dad Hickson is one of the most baddest motherfuckers in martial arts that's ever walked the planet. So it's exciting to see Kron in here. And I do like him in this fight, man, because I just think he's got that. It is dangerous. You don't want to overinvest yourself on this fight at all for somebody that's been out of the league for over 3 years at this point. But Charles Jourdain is like such a great opponent for him to get the fight to the mat at some point. I mean, he's finds himself on the mat, whether somebody takes him down or he slips off of a kick, anything. And all it takes for Kron Gracie, it's like, the submission threat with this guy is kind of like a Derek Lewis knockout shot, right? It's like it's not going to take very much, So for plus money on him, I do have 3/4 of a unit on Kron Gracie at plus 165, and another quarter unit on his submission prop at plus 270. So that's where I'm at with it. Charles Jourdain, if it stays standing, he should be able to do something dynamic on the feet. But Kron Gracie's striking didn't look all that bad last time we saw him. I know that was a long time ago against Cub Swanson. So. Yeah, I'm bothered by the fact that Kron Gracie did not try to take that fight to the mat with more authority, but I think it's going to end up there. If history repeats itself with Charles Jourdain, it'll end up on the mat at some point. So give me Gracie by submission here. I'm very excited to see him fight.
All right, how about you, Liam?
Yeah, I'm just altogether not sold on Charles Jourdain. Just seen too many times where I thought he was going to ascend and make that step up, and had a chance to kind of move forward. Now, this is a fight that, he easily could win, right? In the sense that he's coming in here as the much fresher guy who's training MMA all the time and in an MMA gym and having MMA fights in the UFC, like all these things that you'd want to see, like check the box, but just, I don't believe in his skills here for what he needs to do for this job. I feel like he could get into a grappling exchange by being an imbecile and coming forward and being too aggressive with respect, just not in terms of what he is outside the cage. In the cage, he kind of fights like an imbecile. He comes forward, he just swings everything. He could be difficult to put away, right? Shane Burgos had some good positions, couldn't really get much going on him from there. But again, is Shane Burgos Kron Gracie on the ground? No, he's good there. He's not easy to put away on the ground. He's hard to get a hold of, but I feel like Kron Gracie is just going to be way ahead of him in those exchanges, in those positions. The question becomes, is he able to get the finish? Is he able to put him away? Because I think if he isn't, he's probably going to gas out over the course of this fight. You'd have to think being out for a while can do that. Let's say he rides the back for 4 minutes with a body triangle and doesn't get the sub somehow. Jourdain's just sitting there like that. I just don't see many scenarios where Jourdain ends up surviving this fight. So I think he's getting finished by Kron Gracie.
All right, we'll make it 3 for 3. Like I mentioned, I know for a fact the Gracies are going to be there. Maybe that helps him. Maybe that affects him negatively. I don't know. But I like Kron. I like Kron by sub. I like him in sub round 1. I only have a quarter unit at sub round 1. I got at plus 500. I got a good line before it started moving. And then I got another quarter unit on the sub plus 210. I just checked. There's a better price. You can get plus 230, plus 220 on FanDuel, Bet Rivers, respectively. I think I'm going to add. I kind of want to add to it the more I think about it. It is scary with Kron coming in, being out, being in this gym in Minnesota that I don't know anything about. And I think Jourdain is going to have a huge edge on the feet. Unless Kron's improved like crazy in these 3 years on the feet, which maybe he did, I think Jourdain's going to have an edge. I don't think his striking looked terrible against Cub, but his striking defense is what looked horrible to me. And if it's like that still, I think Jourdain will knock him out if he doesn't grapple. I think he grapples. We saw Shane Burgos take the back. Dude, if that happens, it's over. It's absolutely clipped. So I think that Kron, it's a questionable bet. It's hard because he's been out, but him by sub, it just seems like a little too easy, but it just makes a lot of sense. I really think it's going to happen. I think round 1 is when it happens. I think he's going to get it down to the ground, whether a takedown or off the fence, some kind of drag. He's going to get it, and he's going to get that finish. I think the under 2.5 where the fight doesn't go is a pretty good parlay piece. Honestly, I was stuck what to do with the new Evloev line. We'll talk about it soon. Maybe this and that I'll do. Maybe a parlay with the fight doesn't go here. It's minus 250. If Evloev is still minus 600, I think that'll come out to like minus probably 140-ish. Probably play that, but that's about it. How about you, Mushroom?
Well, I mean, we're going to make it 4 for 4. Not a real confident bet, but I do like the sub as well. And Jourdain, he makes a lot of mistakes. Well, let me give him some credit first. Let me back up. Let me give him some credit first. Like Liam said, he's been keeping active. Another thing, Jourdain round 3 is like a different kind of fighter as well. But it's not going to get that far. I really think it's just going to take 1, maybe 2 takedowns. I don't know how vastly improved Kron's strikers are being. Like you said, didn't look bad against Cullen. If he improves on that, 30%, something, 40%, his hands are going to be pretty decent. But on the feet, I think Jourdain has it. So, like Mike said as well, the easiest path here is just to get this guy on the ground. And like I said, he's probably going to take 1, maybe 2 at the most, but I think it's the first one. So submission round 1's a good play as well. I like it.
All right, 4 for 4. We can move on to our next fight. Just briefly mentioned it. We got Movsar Evloev fighting Diego Lopez on short notice. Evloev 16-0 undefeated. 29 years old. He's 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. Believe he's at American Top Team. Lopez 21-5-0. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be, sorry guys, I'm not a math person, 4 inches taller, same reach, and I actually don't know his camp. It says Legacy MMA Brazilian Warriors. I'll double check when someone else is talking.
It's a gym in Mexico.
And he's at Entrum?
A bunch of Brazilian guys. No, it's a gym in Mexico that a bunch of guys train at, the Brazilian Warriors gym. But yeah, because I was confused. It said fighting out of Mexico, but a Brazilian flag. That was my understanding.
Gotcha. All right, let me consult my chart. Liam, start us off.
Cool. So we're talking about a guy that I haven't done full due diligence on the Lopez side. I have to go back and do some more, but I think he's going to lose this fight. He's fighting pretty average guys in his wins, especially recently, 10-10, just like records, nobody that stands out, no win that you're, real pat on the back. Lost to my guy, Joe Anderson Brito on the Contender Series. I guess you could give him some credit there. He didn't get finished. Brito's obviously shown himself to be a dynamic finisher, both with the hands as well as his submission game. But this is kind of, a fight where it seems pretty simple what's going to happen. Evloev is probably a superior grappler at virtual size parity. I don't love Evloev's cardio, but he's going to be the much more prepared guy in this fight, you'd have to assume. He's been preparing for this fight, for this date, and against other grapplers. So he's going to come in wrestling and grappling shape. And I feel like he's probably going to have, every advantage here. So my guess is a TKO stoppage from Evloev. It seems like a lot of people think he's going to grind this out to a decision. I think that's possible, but I just think that in the early going here, he's going to be much more physically dominant on the mat, a little bit stronger, probably get to the positions he wants. And I don't think he's going to try and wait around for subs here necessarily. He might just open up with ground and pound.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Evloev dominates here. Liam hit it on the, like he mentioned it. Bryce Mitchell was literally who Evloev was preparing for. And I think Mitchell is probably a better jiu-jitsu guy than Diego Lopez. I mean, you can't discredit the guy. He is really good on the ground. He's got 11 submission wins. It's kind of part of the problem in this fight, though. He'll hang on the back. He did that in the Brito fight. He'll just look for subs off his back. And that's going to be a problem with Evloev. You're probably not going to submit him. We've seen him in danger, the Mike Grundy fight, right? I think I took Grundy there. I was trying to fade Evloev back then. And do you guys remember? Like, he had him in I think it was a guillotine. He had him in something extremely tight. And I think most people probably would have tapped. Evloev did not. And I think the submission defense is there. I think he's he's young still also. Like, I think he's still improving. I used to want to fade him, and I'm no longer on that boat until he fights Ilia Topuria. Then I'll take Topuria as an underdog. Thank you very much. But until then, I think I'm going to be sticking with my guy Evloev. I did have a bunch of money on him with Mitchell. I thought it was a fantastic matchup. Thought he was the better striker, the better wrestler. I thought it was a great bet. That's gone. Minus 600 is what I saw in DraftKings for Evloev now. It's not up on most books. It's not up on best fight odds. I think it's up on Superbook, but that's about it right now. Look, I think you can parlay it. Yeah, for sure. Only way I see him losing is maybe if he gets submitted. I'll see what the submission prop is. If they're like stupid with it on FanDuel and give like plus 3,000, I'll throw a 1/10 of a unit on it in case something crazy happens. But I think this is Evloev all day. Like Liam mentioned, I think it's probably by finish, even though like my gut says it's a decision. I feel like he'll probably get like a later finish, but right now I have nothing on it. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with it. At Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter, that's where I post my bets. But up until that, right now, I don't have anything. But Evloev is my pick and probably inside the distance, but I'm not betting that. How about you, Mushroom?
Yeah, so I'm going to pretty much just talk about the Evloev side because literally this is what I have for Evloev, and this is what I have for his opponent so far, guys. I have yet to tape anything. I was going to do that later today. I guess I'm going to have to do it tomorrow before my show. But yeah, I really like the Evloev side here. Just from, that's just watching him fight. I realize the guy's a decent striker. He's got a clean jab. I think he's going to be more technical. He uses his range well, and then he chain wrestles. I know he gets 5 takedowns a fight. I know that's not always good. That means the guys are getting back up. But when he gets you down there, he tries to hurt you. He look for subs and things like that. So he's just not kind of laying preying on you. He can get taken down, but he's got a good get-up game. And it's like we're saying about his sub defense, he remains calm when he's in that situation. Like he just looks like he's so calm, just waits for whatever maneuver has to happen to get out of it. Love his sub defense. I'm all over him here. Don't know much about his opponent, but I'm definitely on the other website.
Yeah,
not sure of a method.
Real quick, Lou. Literally, my first thought was throwing him with Chaos, but I have too much on Chaos already. Patrick, what do you think for this fight?
Yeah, I like Evloev a lot, man. He was somebody that I had parlayed up with Williams. I think he was, probably a bad matchup for Bryce Mitchell, honestly. Like, I could see some spots where Mitchell could have dug that one out in certain spots, but I think that was an Evloev win. But this is, Diego Lopez, the problem with him is his takedown defense, right? Like, he's got a lot of submissions. He's eager to play off of his back. Sometimes his submission defense or his takedown defense is by jumping guillotine. He's happy to do that. Mike pointed out the Mike Grundy fight, which is like a big knock on Movsar Evloev when people were trying to defend the Bryce Mitchell play. But I took a lot of positives from that Mike Grundy fight. He kept on getting back up to his feet. He stayed patient on the ground, went in submission attempts, and his cardio looked very good. And his striking looks very good. So I think if this stays striking, I think Movsar wins that fight. That's probably the spot where he's likely to get, if there was like a big, huge upset from Diego Lopez, I think it would be like a knee or something like that he would get when Movsar is diving for a takedown. You see some really explosive techniques from Diego Lopez. That is a positive in his column. But over the course of a fight, minute winning ability all goes to Movsar. I think he grinds out the takedowns and hopefully stays safe, on those positions, just wins this one. He's going to be like what, like a minus 1,000 favorite? What are the odds going to be for him?
It's minus 600 right now. Well, okay. Last time I checked, I haven't checked since we started the show. That
like a soft open at minus 600. It's going to go all the way to minus 850, minus 900, something like that. Like, I hope he does just stay safe in a dominant position. So I think Movsar wins this pretty easily.
Honestly, Pat, I heard you mention the KO for Lopez as a possible way he wins.
Yeah,
I bet you they give something crazy for that one.
I mean, I don't think it's likely, but yeah,
of course not. Crazy, but that's why you bet it at like plus 5,000.
I think it's more likely than a submission for him, even though he's got more submissions. I think it would be because he likes to go into a firefight and trade bombs, big looping hooks in the pocket, and then when somebody level changes, sometimes he does go for the jumping knee. So I could see that happening if anything were to upset this parlay, Buster.
That would be crazy if out of everything, this is what happened. I mean, good for Lopez.
Right.
I'm glad he took the fight at least. That means he'll be around. But all right, we can move on to the next fight. This one, the chat's been talking about this fight for like half an hour now, way ahead of us. But we've got Jessica Andrade versus Xiao Nan. Andrade 24-10-0. She's 31 years old, 5'1" at the 62-inch reach. PRVT is what I got for her. Jan 16-3-0. She's 33, going to be 4 inches taller, going to have a 1-inch reach advantage, training out of Team Alpha Male. I'm going to start us off. So this is one of those times where I had to like turn off all of the noise from Twitter, from everything, because Jan is such a popular dog. And I kept looking back at it, trying to see what everybody's seeing. And I had to just turn off the noise, say it's okay to disagree. And I really think Andrade wins this. Look, Jan is a great striker. She's good at cutting angles, moving away. That could be a very possible path for her here. Just keep moving, keep landing your shots, use that output. But I really, truly think Andrade is going to be hurting this woman. I think she's going to be backing her up. I think she's good at cutting the cage and cutting off that movement. I think someone pointed at the second Rose fight. Look, I understand Rose just had the worst fight ever, probably in history with Esparza, but the woman is a really good striker, very similar to Jan. So yes, I kind of see what you're saying, but just from watching Andrade, I think one of the things people are really taking too much weight into is the Blanchfield fight. Look, I thought Andrade was going to kill her. I had like 3 units on her. I was completely and utterly wrong. But based off my memory, I thought she got dominated from pillar to post. And I ran it back, and that was not the case. She did not get dominated from pillar to post. She was winning on the feet. Yes, Blanchfield landed nice shots. She looked great. She's like 23, I think, rapidly improving. But at the end of the day, I thought that Andrade was out striking her. And I think that she's going to have way more power, way more pressure. And also, one more thing, the grappling. I couldn't believe when I saw people saying they think Jan has a grappling path here. I don't understand that at all. How? Who? No. Like Andrade, if anything, it's going to be Andrade who gets the takedowns. And if she gets it down on the ground, I think she's going to beat the crap out of her on the ground. So what I ended up playing was Andrade round 3 or decision. No, wait, let me double check. I think I did Andrade KO or decision, and I got it at -115. I put a unit on it. Someone mentioned, like, hey, her jiu-jitsu, she got that standing sub. But then I went back into her stats. Like literally the last time she's attempted a submission was against Joanne Wood back in like 2016. So can she get a sub? Yeah, but the 2 most likely outcomes I see for Andrade are either an attritional KO as the fight extends or a decision win. So I really think it's going to be Andrade, but we'll see. I respect the people betting Jan. I get the angles, and the price is really good, +170. I do get it. Just after doing all my tape, turning off the noise, my read here is Jan. Andrade KO or decision. How about you, Mushroom?
Yeah, I have very similar take. I got my little 3rd round decision play again. That's my little thing in the corner there. See it? So, and that's for Andrade. Make a lot of good points. Listen, Andrade, she has that fucking power in her hand. She's explosive, man. She comes forward. And again, another one that does body work. I love fighters that do body work. She got decent leg kicks, She can wrestle. She can grapple. Like, if there's any kind of grappling that people are talking about, it's coming from the Andrade side. Trust me. I'm seeing you're not doing any of that. Yeah, man. I know she can get subs. That's not her thing. Probably attritional, like you said. I think it's going to happen attritionally. If it happens, if not, I think Andrade's going to win a clear decision because it's pillar fisted. She might throw a lot of volume, but a lot of times the judges look at when her fucking head snapping back and more damage on her face. That's what they're looking for, and I think that's what Andrade's is going to create. And whether she actually does knock her out late, so that 3rd round decision, just like you played, that's what I'm playing. I love that play.
I did KO or decision.
All right, KO decision. But I thought you did mention 3rd round.
I did. I made a mistake.
So that's where I agree with you on that part, 100%. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, it's a close fight. Jan, I like Jan. I'm impressed with her. I backed her as an underdog against Mackenzie Dern last time out. That was a good matchup. The Marina Rodriguez fight was very impressive. Just even though she lost that by split, I thought for her to go toe-to-toe with Marina Rodriguez impressed me a lot. I like the way that she moves, sticks and moves with that nice side kick, maintains distance. She'll be the much bigger, longer fighter here. There's just a lot of question marks with Andrade. And like you, Mike, I did back Andrade. I thought it was a really good price in her last time against Erin Blanchfield. Even on short notice, I was like, man, the striking of Andrade, all the experience. I mean, how can you pass up an opportunity on that one? And, I think why it stuck out that she got outstruck by Erin Blanchfield in round 1 is because how shocking that was. I don't think it was as brutalizing as people remember it to be, but it was just very shocking that was like the one part where we thought Andrade would dominate her and she didn't. She kind of she probably maybe won some of those exchanges, but it was way more competitive than we thought it was going to be. So, yeah, this is just a tough one because we haven't seen Andrade at her natural weight class here at 115 in quite some time. She's had 2 fights this calendar year, a beatdown of one girl that's not very good, like Lauren Murphy, and then she got dominated in the grappling in her last fight. So now she's coming back at a very quick turnaround. I haven't seen her compete at her normal weight class, so I'm going to reserve paying more for her than I did in my last attempt at trying to make money off of her, right? So just based on the money line right now, I'm liking the Jan side. I'd say it's dog or pass. I'm using the money to do the talking on this one, the odds to do the talking. I think Jan does win this fight more often than the odds predict right now. So give me Xiao Nan. We're looking at, man, BetOnline's got her at plus 184 right now. That's that's more than I thought it would go to. But I can see the Andrade love. I can see if she were to push the wrestling, get the fight to the mat. But Jan's been preparing for that type of opponent lately, and I think she's just going to stick and move here. So give me Jan at these odds.
All right, Liam, are you making it 2-2? I feel like you are.
I don't have a strong read here. So if I was to play a side because of some of the WMMA dynamics, I'd probably be leaning a little bit more towards the Xiao Nan side. Reasons being, I feel like she's a fighter that will go underrated overall because of a number of factors. Number one, she's not making a dent on social media. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody gives a rat's ass. I'm just talking about the general public, right? So the general public's going to bet who they know. And they know Jessica Andrade for sure. So that's just one thing I would point out. And the other thing I would point out is a lot of people that are sharp bet early, a lot of people that are sharp bet late. So things to keep in mind. If the number moves right when it drops, okay, maybe that was a sharp player that's trying to take advantage of the freshest, weakest lines. But then conversely, if somebody wants to get down a lot of money, they're not waiting. They're going to wait. They're going to wait. And especially if you're playing a dog, you want to wait till the number goes out as wide as it'll possibly be, hit it as late as possible. So these are just some things that we think about. As far as this fight goes, I think Xiao Nan, because she's a decisionator, doesn't get a lot of, credit and respect either. Whereas she's had several fights where she was near the finish. Kaylin Curran, she rocks her backwards, almost drops her at the end. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she like Spartan kicked her in the face to end the fight. Like, she had a bunch of these moments that were impactful, but never really got that finish. Jessica Andrade, something I noticed before the Blanchfield fight in my handicapping, and I'll just mention, right, I have some biases about these women because just historically speaking, my most profitable fighters on this card are Jessica Andrade, Aljamain Sterling, and Xiao Nan. Okay, so I've done very well betting on both of them, betting for, betting against. I've faded Jessica Andrade with Erin Blanchfield hugely. New York, New Jersey taught him how to wrestle once again. So the thing about her is she's very good and she's very talented, but she doesn't manage her career, right? Just go look at her career. She wins the title. She's like, yeah, 25 days from now, I'll turn it around in China. That's a terrible idea. No one who is a manager would be like, yeah, let's do that. It was a bad idea. She lost the title quick. Okay. Then she goes out, she takes hard fight. Short notice, hard fight. Yes, I'll take it. It's like, she just doesn't manage her career. So now I would say one of the most underrated, unknown commodities in the division that nobody knows or cares about, who's very tough, hard to put away, just had the best grapplers in the division try and take her down an auditor, and they really struggled. So I'm just like, I don't know. Is it just that clear? So for me, I think that Andrade is very capable of winning this fight by knockout, right? And I think she has an edge on the ground. But I also have seen that Jessica Andrade wins early, or she tends to fall apart a little bit over the course of fights. When she loses, it's inside the distance, and it's in like rounds 2 or 3. She's like, "Oh, this ain't working." Like she just starts to take stock of what's going on, and if she doesn't like it, she will check out of the fight and quit. And that's an opinion of mine, but I felt like she's done it against Blanchfield. That one was more understandable, the wardrobe malfunction, this and that. But some of the other fights, if you go back and watch, I'm talking about the whole Rolodex. When she's losing, it's normally like, look around, this ain't going my way. Valentina Shevchenko, same thing. Taken down too many times. Okay, we're out of here. Cover up and it's all good. So those are the red flags for me. But does she have more natural power? Yes. Is she bigger? Yes. Is she stronger? Yes. Does she have the upside in the wrestling and the grappling? Yes. She should be favored. It's a question of how much. And how much coming back again rapidly after a fight that just didn't go your way. Where's your motivation? Do you still want to be a top-level fighter? These are some of the things that I want to see, but the UFC gave her a winnable fight, a fight where it's going to be tit for tat. Both, have a chance to win, could go back and forth. But I feel like Xiao Nan has struggled to get some of those favorable judging, mechanisms along the way, whether you call that racial bias, any way you want to do it. She's had a bunch of fights that were close that didn't quite go her way, and starting to find that way over the hump. I thought in her last fight, she's working with Team Alpha Male. Used to be just training overseas, right? I felt like that put her at a huge disadvantage. Training at Team Alpha Male, Song Yadong, ever heard of him? Like, that guy just went out there and showed everybody, still very capable gym over there, that they're doing big things with some of their prospects. So I'm not ready to write off Yan Xiao Nan. I would not be laying a huge price against her because I think she's extremely talented, but it's a hard fight to call. So I think Andrade should be a favorite, but where on that sliding scale, that I think is the question. And I think at plus 180 something, I would be looking towards the underdog.
The one thing I'll say before we move on is I did bet Yan in both of her last 2 fights as the underdog and cashed one of them. I think I should have cashed the other one, but
yes, you should have, my friend.
Just want to say I'm not biased just because she's won me money. So, but we can move on. We've got another one that I think a lot of people are split on. We got Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns, our co-main event of the evening. Belal Muhammad, he's 22-3-0. He's 34 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Liam, do you know where he's training right now?
Belal Muhammad?
No. Belal.
He's training at Valley Flow Striking Academy in Chicago, Illinois.
Right.
I think he cross trains a couple places, but that's his primary.
Okay, cool. And then Burns, 22-5-0. He's going to be 2 years older at 36. 1 inch shorter, going to have a 1 inch reach disadvantage. We know he's at Sanford MMA. Mushroom, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going back and forth in this fight. Let's go over my thoughts on it. So, look, Belal Muhammad, guy's well-rounded, decent striker. He has powers in his hands. He can put on some pace and some pressure. He can be a non-stop wrestler. He's good in the clinch. I think it's like 2 takedowns a fight. He's also got, pretty good jiu-jitsu. I think he has decent fight IQ as well. Decent takedown defense, good cardio. He can be boring, stay safe, doesn't want to take a lot of risks, but he wins minutes that way as well, too. Red flags, guy's hittable. Level of competition compared to Burns, and super takedown dependent, let's go on the Burns side. So my notes on Burns are, look, the guy actually has some power in his hands. He's got some knockout power in his hands. He mixes up the strikes, and his strikes are clean. He's got a good jab, explosive. He got those low kicks. He's a good grappler. I think he's a no-gi champion. Great for BJJ. I think he's fought better competition. It's kind of adorable, in my opinion. But, man, he's small for the division. It is a quick turnaround. Did he just fight like 3 weeks ago? And, man, I'm wondering, with this being 5 rounds, if that really benefits Burns. I think he's the one that called for the 5 rounds, as a matter of fact. But I don't know. Like I said, I went back and forth. So you can see my little scribble marks on my but I'm going with Belal by decision. That's what I ended up with after everything. So that's where I'm at on that.
All right. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, no, I agree with what Mushroom settled on with that Belal by decision. I do have a money line bet on Belal at plus 115. Didn't get the best plus money on there, but 1.5 units and then another half of a unit on Belal by decision at plus 200. So like 75 on the money line, 25 on the prop. That's what I've done for a few of these fights. And Belal is just, you can dislike the guy or call him boring, whatever. I mean, he's very dynamic in the way that he game plans fights. And depending on who he fights, he's got an entirely different skill set and strategy. And even mid-fight, like this is a 5-round fight, you could see a different game plan from him early on. In this fight against Gilbert Burns, who's explosive, got good wrestling, got explosive knockout power early, you're probably going to see him concede and be the counter striker, skirting against the cage, kind of like against Vicente Luque, moving left, moving right, maybe threatening a takedown or just trying to clinch up with you, strikes straight punches on the middle, switching stances. But you see him fight a guy like, of course, a good kickboxer in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's taking him down. You see him against a good grappler in Sean Brady. He stands up and manages to get like his second knockout in the UFC. So this guy can really change up his game plan because he's so well-rounded and actually very good in like all areas of the game. So mix that with some 5-round cardio, a proven ability to go 5-round. I mean, this is like Bilal spot all day for me at plus money. I really like him here. And especially with this being 5 rounds. If it was 3 rounds, I'd be less confident. But this being 5 rounds, I think he's got way more time to win minutes in this fight and cruise to a decision.
All right. How about you, Liam?
Hard fight to get a read on, boys. I doubted Bilal Muhammad to my detriment on a number of occasions. And I think that, that fight against Sean Brady just blew me away. Didn't expect him to blow through him like that. Made it look easy. Made a guy who's pretty tough look like he wasn't that tough and like he didn't want to be there. He just beat the shit out of him, right? That was actually what we saw. He just beat the shit out of him. And Bilal has been getting a lot better. I feel like VFS doesn't get any love and respect. They're maybe not as known as a gym, but they're producing championship level fighters. I mean, say what you will about Juliana Pena. They made her dog tough, right? They made her competitive with Amanda Nunes. That should be like a Nobel Peace Prize or something, right? Like on top of that, Yair Rodriguez, guy that never gets any love, especially for his grappling, his wrestling, anything like that, goes out there, submits 2 top guys in the division in a row. I know I'll get some hate for that comment. He submitted Brian Ortega. Read it and weeps. It's tough, I know, but he did. So as far as I'm concerned, right, Yair Rodriguez maybe a little bit slept on. Maybe a lot of these guys coming out of Chicago, a little bit slept on. Tough fighters, right? Dog, tough. Bilal Muhammad, unless you're going to knock him out, put him down, he's really been very difficult to beat, right? Very difficult for guys to turn away via decision. He's got a remarkable record with the judges. They like what he's doing. He's constantly active. He's normally moving forward and putting pressure on guys. He makes it a dogfight. He makes it a question of, do you want to be here more than I do? And for me, I love Gilbert Burns, right? He's extremely technical. He's good at everything. But I also feel like Gilbert, in his heart of hearts, is a guy that, lives a little bit on the edge and he fights a little bit with that fire and he is willing to get into that war with Chimaev, right? And guys know that they can't go to the ground with Gilbert, right? Chimaev started to take him down. He was like halfway through a takedown and like, I got to get out of here. Like hands on hips, run away. But I think that Bilal Muhammad, we saw him fight Damian Maia. Damian was admittedly a little bit past prime. He could get nothing going, 0. He just anti-grappled him very, very effectively for the course of that fight. And I thought to myself, that's a pretty good blueprint for how to beat somebody like Gilbert Burns. His best advantage is in the grappling in this fight, in my opinion. I think at distance, these guys are pretty competitive. Nobody was talking about Kamaru Usman, the knockout threat, until he knocked out Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal, right? And Masvidal, we just saw, almost got knocked out by Burns too, because he's a little bit past it and he's a little bit slow and he's not maybe as serious about where his fighting as he used to be. So for me, I look at this fight and I say to myself, reluctantly, as a Bilal Muhammad former hater, I just think the guy is very good at fighting. I think he's very difficult to look good against. And I think Gilbert's taking on a lot here, right? Very short notice turnaround, really tough circumstances for Gilbert, ton of pressure, right? Last time it was in Miami against a guy who had all the pressure, right? He's from Miami. I'm just a visitor. He needs this fight for his career. I could just, win, lose, or do whatever if this happens. Plus Gilbert's on his second weight class. Bilal Muhammad's never making a 155. You understand? Like that was not going to happen. He's a big fellow. He's a muscled guy, right? Especially later in his career. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Take that for whatever it's worth. I think Ali got on the phone for him and he's got a new doctor. But I'll tell you what, Bilal Muhammad's just been a handful recently. Very difficult to deal with. So I think Gilbert's clearly got finishing equity in the early portion of this fight. But I said in 2021 about Gilbert Burns, unfortunately, this guy's just not cut out for 5 rounds. I think he might be on EPO now. I think he might be trying to do things to get himself in the right position. Again, don't sue me. I'm just a guy making a video here, all love and respect. But I think Gilbert's tried to do the right things, but it's a lot later on in the career. He's 36 already, right? And he's trying to make that push for a title shot. He already had a title shot. Bilal's had all these opportunities, never gotten that shot. I feel like he's going to get it on Saturday night. I hate to say it, but rooting for a guy, Gilbert. Jiu-Jitsu had a banner night last week. Are we going to have 2 in a row? I mean, we normally end up getting to cry in our coffee sometimes as the Jits boys, and it's going to be a tough one, I think, for Gilbert. He could definitely win this fight. Bilal, never one thing to set him apart, except that he's a dog and he's really hard to beat.
Yeah, this is my second favorite dog on the card after Frevola. Took Bilal at plus 120 for 2 units to win back 2.4. The cardio, I mean, you guys hit everything, but the cardio is one big thing. The 5 rounds, I think, is going to be big. On the feet, I think it was you, Liam, who said you think it'll be close. I agree. And everybody's saying it's going to be Burns by a landslide, and I don't agree with that. As someone who had a ton of money on Burns in the Masvidal fight, I didn't think he looked as good as he should have or as I expected. And Bilal, for me, he was kind of a money train, and then I doubted him in the Stephen Thompson fight. I doubted him in the Luque fight. Finally, I jumped back on board with Brady, and a lot of people also been coming at me this week. Why don't you just bet the decision? Bilal's a decision machine. Did you not just watch the Sean Brady fight? I understand it was one time, it was a one outcome, but that's why not just take the money line? I think the decision is like, I think Pat said plus 200. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't think it was that high, but normally it's not that wide with Bilal. So I just feel like you're better off taking him at dog odds. I don't see a reason to get fancy with it. Plus 200, Pat, I think you did the right thing. But overall, I don't see a reason to get fancy with it. And I think Muhammad's going to win this fight, probably by decision. He's been super impressive. And I just think it's funny. People are saying all this stuff about him being boring, not deserving it. We said the same shit about Leon Edwards like 2 years ago. And then he comes in there. Forget the freaking Nate Diaz fight or whatnot. But he comes in there and he beats Usman not once, but twice. Okay. And now we all love him. He's this hero after the first knockout. We had all kinds of stuff going on. Leo, he was the best. Look, you never know. Bilal might be it next. He's really good. He's been improving like crazy. He's got striking now. He showed that in the Brady fight. I thought that's the reason I bet him in that fight. I thought he'd have that striking edge and people were just saying Brady would, but Brady's not a good striker. He's a fantastic grappler, but not a fantastic striker. I think that Burns is a good striker, but I don't think it's going to be super wide. I think that Bilal will be maybe a little concerned to take him down early because of the jiu-jitsu of Burns. There's a reason I think Hamzat didn't really want to play in that guard. I think he hopped in there twice and just said, I'm good with this. And he decided to strike instead. If he did grapple later on, maybe he still would have had success. We don't know. But I think that Bilal, he'll survive any kind of grappling that happens early. And then it's just going to be dominant from maybe round 3 and on is what I think. So I really like Bilal here. I think the 5 rounds is huge. I think Pat said this also. If it was 3 rounds, he wouldn't be that confident. Totally agree. 5 rounds, I think, really favors Bilal here. So that's going to be my pick. Do you think split decision live? I mean, with these judges these days, anything can happen. Who knows? But
it's always a good call. Whenever it's, especially if it's Burns early in this spot, and then if it's Bilal coming in strong in the later parts of the fight. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'll be sort of one-sided as this goes past round 3. In the favor of Bilal.
Agreed. But all right, we can move on to the main event. Very hyped to talk about this one. We've got Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. Sterling 22-3-0. He's 33 years old. We have like 6 fighters who are 33. 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Sarah Longo, we already know that one. Cejudo 16-2-0. He's going to be 3 years older at 36. 3 inches shorter. Going to have a, let me math real quick, 4-inch reach disadvantage. We do know he's at Fight Ready MMA. And Patrick, why don't you start us off?
Oh, man, why do I have to start this one, dude? This is a super low confidence read for me. This fight is super close. I totally agree with the sports books and where the betting market is at here. Complete 50-50. I know it's probably slight money in the favor of Triple C. I think it's minus 115. Cejudo minus 105 for Sterling. But, man, this is a tough spot because Sterling, you know, he's a guy where, you know, there's not many people that are going to give him his due respect as a champion at this point because of the circumstances. Getting the belt after getting illegally kneed when he almost got put out in that fight. Coming back with a split decision that I don't think was a robbery. You know, it was a close fight. However, you scored round 1 against Peter Yan. And now he tried to come out with a breakthrough performance against former champion TJ Dillashaw. Then Dillashaw's shoulder falls out of its socket 1 minute into the fight. So it's like, you know, what do you do with that? So this is going to be the spot where he should be very fired up to try to make a statement here that he is the deserving champion. But Henry Cejudo, man, back in the day was so good before that long layoff. 36 years old at this point. Not many people at these weight classes are really coming back at that age and winning the strap. So I'm going to side on Aljamain Sterling. I think there's a huge size advantage for him in this spot. I think his striking is going to be long and rangy against Henry Cejudo's more of like blitzing attacks that he's known to do as the shorter man trying to get in range. And I think if Cejudo gets the fight to the mat, I don't think he's going to be as smothering because he's so active. You know, he leaves some gaps for Sterling to wall walk or get back up to his feet. Whereas if Sterling gets the takedown or grabs a limb, jumps in the back from a standing position against the cage, that's like a round for Sterling, as we've seen, right? That's how he basically won that split against Peter Yan. He's the human backpack. So I'm going to lead with the younger man, the guy who's been active very slightly. I'll just lead Aljamain Sterling. I think it'll be another split decision in his favor. And I think he really is going past the old adage at this point where it's like, look, Peter Yan again. We're looking at the spot against TJ Dillashaw. It's better to be lucky than it is to be good. So it could be Sterling to remain champion.
Took one good shirt at your one good look at your shirt, Liam, and I already know what you're gonna say. What you got here?
Well, I don't know if you do or not. You know, it's a questionable fight because everything from a fan standpoint pushes me towards Aljamain Sterling. Okay, D3 wrestling, check. I'm with you. Guy from New York, check. I'm with you. One of the UFC champions I've met, check. I'm with you. It's like I like Aljamain Sterling. Okay, I think he gets a bad rap. I think he's gotten way too much hate for his UFC run. I think people were really foolish and threw away a lot of money betting Petr Yan at minus all sorts of numbers against him in that rematch. And I had receipts out the ass on that one. I can show you guys the old Manila notebook, right? Where everything's written down on paper, why it's going to happen, the way it's going to happen. Aljo said in every interview, listen, man, my shoulder was messed up. I could not grab a hold of him with my two arms. So I tried to punch and go and whatever. And I was very nervous because I couldn't grab a hold of him. So I was tiring because I was nervous, and I was tiring because I was doing too much. And I was anxious because I knew I couldn't grab a hold of him, and I was weak and I didn't feel like myself. And guys, I can tell you, I watched all the Aljo fights before that, and he did not look like himself when he fought Petr Yan the first time. And anybody who told you that he did hasn't watched all his other fights. He's never looked like that before. And by the way, he's never looked like that since. Okay. He came back out after getting a reconstructive surgery, and he looked way better. And he said, I feel way better and I feel strong. And I watched footage of him grappling. He's grabbing a hold of people and they can't move. So I was like, damn, this guy is the goods. But I'll tell you something else. If you were saying, Liam, manage Aljo's career, the fight I would not have wanted to take is this one. Because this is the hardest fight, in my opinion, for Aljo in the division. Why? Henry's a genius, and he doesn't get any credit. And nobody ever talks about the fact he's probably the smartest guy in the fight game today, talking about who wins fights and why. He is a genius for fighting. He is an obsessive person when it comes to this fight game. He knows everything about everybody. You bring up something, he's like an encyclopedia of knowledge, okay? Everybody goes to talk to Henry. That's Mighty Mouse. That's John Jones. Anybody you think is a GOAT of MMA values Henry Cejudo's opinion right at the top, okay? And he lost to Mighty Mouse one time. He was there. He got embarrassed, starched out in the first round. He could have packed it in. He's already got the gold medal. He doesn't need this, but he's a psycho, and all he wants is to be the best. That's it. He's been psychotically obsessed with being the best since time immemorial. So as far as I'm concerned, betting against a guy like Henry Cejudo is always to be done at risk of peril. And you guys should know that going in. It's not to say Aljo can't win. Aljo's a beast. Aljo's a stud. And if he gets on the back, he's got number one, he's got a cheat code to just win every round. Back take, control the back from there, then the round's over, right? He did it to Petr Yan on multiple occasions. The backpack is new part of MMA meta. If you don't know how to do it, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, like categorically. Now, on top of that, though, creating scrambles with the best wrestler in the division, which Henry, in any division he's in, probably the best wrestler on paper, right? It's like, how would you push back against that? He's the best wrestler on paper in the history of the UFC. So now we're saying that a guy that is very good on the ground, but admittedly took Petr Yan down twice, I think, on like 20 attempts, is going to just have instant success with the wrestling here. That I find hard to believe. So on the striking standpoint is where I think this fight will mostly take place. And I think Aljo is an underrated striker, but striking he can only do at his style for about 15 to 17 minutes very hard. And then he starts to slow down significantly, really bad, if he's forced to strike. So for me, it becomes a very difficult fight because Aljo's huge for 35 and Henry's not. But Henry is prepared to fight guys at 35, 45. He's a psycho. I'm telling you, when I've met some of these guys at the very apex, the guys that competed for world and Olympic titles, they're insane people at the very peak of their powers. So Henry's 36. He's a little old, especially for the division. But if one person's to get off the couch and just come in and whip somebody's ass, it's Henry Cejudo. I'm just saying right now, I think people slept on him his whole way up. I think people slept on him before the DJ2 fight. the fact that he won that fight, it's one of the best single wins in the history of MMA. People don't talk about it. So I think Henry Cejudo is a forgotten chapter in MMA. And honestly, the UFC didn't want to pay him enough, and he was too good for what he was getting paid. And he was dominating champions, and the guys they were putting in front of him, aside from Marlon Moraes, most of those fights were not competitive reasonably. Again, the DJ fights notwithstanding, most of the other fights, they're not even competitive. And Henry Cejudo, this is the thing I thought was interesting. I'll leave you guys with this. Aljamain Sterling has closed pick'em 3 times in the UFC. He's 3-0. Okay. Point of strength for Aljo, right? When it comes down to a 50-50 fight, Corey Sandhagen, who's going to win, goes out there and cleans him up in the first round. Okay. But then Henry Cejudo's never closed a pick'em. He's either been a big dog or a favorite of like minus 200 and above. When people think Henry's going to win, they think he's going to do it going away, except this time. But he opened up a plus 135, and now he's minus 115. And he was minus 115 in Vegas on Monday. I don't ignore those things. I say to myself, holy smokes, somebody crushed this line on Henry Cejudo right away. And it might have been Henry Cejudo, because there's nobody who seems more confident in Henry than him. I am just saying, I love Aljo. I wish he hadn't taken this fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Aljo can submit him, but I think if Aljo doesn't win by sub, it's a hard fight for him to win.
All right, I got a bunch of stuff to say. First thing, before I forget it, I do have a tenth of a unit shot. Aljamain Sterling, round 5 KO, plus 9,500, purely for shits and giggles, because it was plus 9,500. Ground and pound exists. Who knows? It's not going to happen, but plus 9,500, sign me up. So in terms of the fight, look, Sterling's always been really hard for me. I had to throw away bias because in the first Jan fight, look, I'm not a man of much means. I'm a student still. That was like a few $1,000 swing for me when he did that illegal knee. And that was really brutal. And I really hated Sterling after that. I really fucking hated the guy. So it was very difficult to take that bias away and start betting on him when I thought he might win. In the second Jan fight, I let that bias get the better of me because I had a read. And I thought that maybe Peter Yan might lose this fight. I thought maybe if Sterling comes in and it really was a one-off with the grappling, he might win. And I still went with my bias, put a bunch of money on Peter Yan parlays, not as much as I did the first time, but still too much, and lost. And after that, I was like, I'm done. Look, I respect the guy. I think he's really good, and it's time to like throw that away. He came in the TJ fight. I did bet him there for I think 1 or 2 units. I don't remember. I understand the injury. It's hard to really make anything of that fight now. And if you go back on my YouTube channel, last week I released a short on this fight, and my pick was Aljamain Sterling. It's no longer the case. And I got to put out a new video correcting that because after doing more tape on this fight, I thought it was worth more tape. I think that Cejudo is going to be so difficult to control. Like, he's going to be really hard. First of all, that tiny stature, I think it's going to be bad for him on the feet. But on the ground, I feel like it might be kind of hard for Sterling to hold on to his waist when the guy has not much of a waist. He's very, very small, Cejudo, which on the feet to me is a concern. I do think Sterling can find a lot of success there. He's shown good output against good strikers. Pedro Munoz, it's like nobody's talking about that fight. I think he has shown decent striking, but I still think Cejudo is the better striker. And I think once he closes the distance, it's Cejudo all day. He is more dangerous. I think he's going to have the power to get a knockout if it happens. And the counter grappling is just key for me. I mean, with Cejudo, the counter grappling is so good. The scrambling ability is insane. The one thing I said when I broke it down last week and I thought Sterling, I was like, yeah, Cejudo's grappling is great. The counter grappling is great, but who's he fought the size of Sterling? Who's also got the credentials of Sterling? Nobody. So Sterling does have that going for him, and the comeback after 3 years. Someone pointed out the comebacks have been pretty good for the champs. John Jones, 3 years. I forget the other example. Cejudo, definitely on that level, definitely of that caliber, one of the GOATs. So for me, because I favor him in the striking, because I think it's going to be really hard for Aljamain to control him. And you can even look at the Aljamain Stamen fight, right? That was in 2019, I think. It's been a minute, but he showed some things there where Stamen got success grappling. He gave up position, and Stamen was the one who got control there. And I think that Cejudo is a completely different level, and Stamen also is much smaller than Sterling, and he still was able to do that. So for me now, I'm on Sterling. I played him at minus 115 for 1.2 units. That's tracked. And then untracked only because I can't on Bet MMA, that there's no option for this. I took Cejudo round 3, 4, 5 KO at plus 950 for a quarter unit. I think he might get a finish late. I think it's a possibility, although I do think that most likely outcome is going to be a decision for Cejudo. How about you, Mushroom?
Yeah. Well, let's start off. I'll start off this fight with the Sterling side. I mean, he's a pretty good striker. He's got a decent jab. He puts some volume. He does some front kicks. He got some head kicks and stuff. Good leg, body kicks, all that shit. I think in this spot he might have like a 3.5 reach advantage in this spot as well. Good footwork, long. He uses his range well. He's a good MMA grappler. He can get subs, and I know he sticks to you like glue. You know, he can fucking backpack you and just hold you for the fucking whole round. I don't know, man. But to me, he has some sketchy cardio late. Like, I don't know. I think Cejudo could put it on him. He wrestles him a lot. And I think maybe even Sterling could just, even with his own volume, with the striking, could tire himself up by round 3.5, 4, or something like that. And I know people maybe don't want to make a big deal. I really don't like how he got the belt. I mean, I think he really played that up to be way more. Once he realized that if he did that, he could actually get. I think he really just played it up that he couldn't fight anymore. He was getting his fucking ass kicked in that one. All right, I don't know what happened the second time against Jan. I don't know how. You know, it was such a drastic difference, but you know these things happen. But let's just go with the other side of this fight. Henry Cejudo, good striker. We all know. He's got power in his hands. He's got 8 knockouts. I think he has 8 knockouts, 8 decisions. He's got the good leg kicks, good knees, body work. Now, look, I know he's a small dude, but he's an Olympic gold medalist. 2 takedowns a fight. He's got more UFC experience. His fucking resume is fucking, way better. And his fight IQ, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, that they don't talk about much. His fucking fight IQ is fucking phenomenal. He's in a good camp. He's a fight ready, I think. So he's in a good camp. I get it's a 3-year layoff, and he's a 36-year-old bantamweight. I get it. I don't think Cejudo comes back. I think, in his mind, I think he thinks he can take Sterling. I think that's why he came back and took this fight. I don't think he'd want to come back in 3 years just to get, just to lose a fight. I don't know if he finishes Sterling, but Sterling does slow down late. So I do I'll just say Cejudo wins the fight for now, but I like the late round pots for Cejudo as well. 3, 4, 5.
The real winner here is Sean O'Malley. Both guys are already saying they want the guy. He's so lit. He just has to sit there and wait now. No matter who wins, gets the title shot. But all right, guys, that's a show. That's UFC 288. We just broke down 14 fights. Thank you all for tuning in. Somehow at 2 a.m. Eastern time, 2:24 now. We still have 25 viewers live. Thank you all for sticking with us. Thank you all for watching. And I'll pass the mic to everybody real quick to plug themselves. I'll go first. I did do a show last night with Dan from Half the Battle and Lucrative MMA. Broke down the card as well. That was a great time. Make sure to run that one back. And no regional stuff from me. I'm in the middle of finals week, so I can't do all that. And I will do my usual prop show with MMA Propaholic. We're going to do it on Friday, as always. I think it's going to be 7 p.m. I'll let you guys know. But that's it for me. Mushroom, thank you for coming on, brother. Why don't you plug yourself, and we'll keep moving on.
At Mushroom Philly on Twitter, Mushroom MMA. It's actually Thursday. I have a show tonight at 10 p.m. Listen, if you guys aren't following everybody that's here in this panel, you must be crazy. These guys are sharp as shit. These are some of the realest dudes in the community. I fuck with these dudes for real, for real. I'm going to see my man Mike at UFC 288. It's going to be fucking awesome. I got the first beer, Mike. I also got a couple disposables I'm bringing, so I'm ready to go, brother. Patrick, I've done a couple shows with you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Liam, first time I've done a show with you. Love to maybe have you on my show someday, or I'd love to come on yours. Either way. But yeah, Mushroom MMA, thank you guys very much. Tomorrow, 10 p.m. Thank you.
All right. My co-host, Patrick, thanks as always for doing the show with me, brother. plug yourself real quick.
Hell yeah, man. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Mushroom, for joining us for this pay-per-view week tradition. I love it, man. This is an awesome card, and I'm happy to know that you guys are going to meet up with each other in real life and actually watch the fights together. That's awesome. Share the best sport in the world with a bunch of other great handicappers. You guys meet up. You guys need to do a big group photo with everybody from Twitter on there. That'd be awesome to coordinate. So, hey, man, if you guys don't know me at this point, my name is Patrick. I run a channel called Addicted to Combat. I'm at Combat Addict 1 on Twitter as well. I'll have my best bets and props, my full betting slate out tomorrow, and I do full card breakdowns every week. So good luck on all of your betting action. This is an awesome card. A lot of money to be made, so good luck.
Pat, did you hit 1,000 yet?
Not yet. Still,
for the love of God.
Yeah.
Anybody watching?
Like 950 or some shit like that.
We need 50 people to get Pat to 1,000. Why is he not at 1,000?
Hey.
Subscribe. I mean, to all of us, of course, but Addicted to Combat. Let's get him to 1,000. Liam, thanks for coming on, brother. Plug yourself, and we'll head on out.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. You can find me everywhere at Liam Picks Fights. Tomorrow, doing a show with my guy Lou Betcha as well. Going to be doing a panel appearance there. Great group of guys. So looking forward to breaking it down, chopping it up a little bit. Wednesday's a little bit early for me in my process. So if you guys noticed, maybe a little bit less conviction, a little bit less on the specifics for me. Just don't want to give you guys something and then, change my mind on it by tomorrow. So try to give you guys as much of my thoughts as I can, and going to have it all crystallized for tomorrow as well. 3:00 Eastern time. Me and Just Win Baby going through it, our show, and really excited to break it down. A lot of great action to talk about. So we'll see you guys then.
All right. Hell yeah. Thank you guys once again, and good luck this weekend with any bets you have. We do have a ton of regionals, so if you're betting that, good luck and peace out, guys.